Hey everyone, this is Decosmic on an external recording for the beginning because I messed up my audio for the intro of the podcast. This is going to be an analysis of Season 2 of Netflix Devil May Cry. Last year I did this for Season 1 with Dr. Shy Guy. He didn't want to end up doing it this year because he didn't want to watch the second season. So I got Antonio Redgrave here with me today, and I'm going to let him introduce himself, and then we'll get on into it. Enjoy.
Yeah. So first of all, I got to give a big salute to Doc for sticking to his guns and not wanting to watch this. I totally do not blame him at all. But anyways, hello everybody. I'm Antonio Redgrave on YouTube and TikTok, and then BFGC_Redgrave over on Twitch. That's probably going to change at some point down the future. I just haven't had the time or energy to just figure that out yet. But I am a DMC enthusiast, action game enjoyer. I've been playing the Devil May Cry series since I was probably like 12 or 13. I got started with Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and I saw Dante and I was like, oh my god, he's beautiful. I need to know everything about this series right now. And here I am. I'm also a Capcom creator, so everything that I say regarding this series, I'm sorry. But yeah, I also like talk about like superheroes and like costume rankings, like video game rankings on like tier lists and stuff. A couple years ago, I ranked all of the Devil May Cry games, mainline games, mobile games. That was probably like what I consider my magnum opus video and just my definitive thoughts on the series in general. And even now, like all of that still kind of reigns true, except maybe I hold DMC2 just at a slightly higher bar now. That's really the only change that I would make. Like slightly higher, yeah. This was before I played Trish, and I was like, oh, Trish actually makes this game really, really fun from a more casual standpoint. So that's the only change that I would make on that. But yeah, I'm super excited to get into this. I was also known for my kind of neutral take on the Netflix show for season 1, and I did a watch along last year and I did a watch along this year, which was super fun, and I'm looking forward to discussing this season with my good buddy Cosmic.
Yeah, I am happy to have you, man. Thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it. So I guess we'll just hop right into it. This season kind of picks up, like, it's weird because the Virgil scene at the very end of the show where he says, I am that storm, hasn't actually happened yet where we hop in at the beginning of the season, which threw me for a loop because we actually get to it in episode 2. But this season...
Yes, we do, yeah. It's the very beginning of episode 2.
First of all, that's strange to me because it's like, you would think it'd be like a little bit of a time skip, but like we're actually rewinding a bit. So this is going to be a theme that we're technically flashing back all the time. So we kind of open on like this lady remorse exposition, and then in a moment of whiplash, it goes into the U.S. troops fighting in Mackay to getting away with murder by Papa Roach.
Well, it's not even that. It is Getting Away with Murder, but it's the Power Glove remix.
Yeah, it's the Power Glove
Getting Away
remix.
with Murder. It's the Power Glove remix, which is actually on the official DMC2 soundtrack that I've been listening to. So that was very interesting to listen to, because it's like not even it's just the Power Glove remix, but it's probably like the most faithful Power Glove remix that we have to like their like the original song, which I think is interesting.
Pretty true.
Yeah, and then, we also have a bunch of surprise cameos too. Like what was it? It was Proto Angelo. It was Goliath. Oh, Scudo Angelo. Sorry, Scudo Angelo, Goliath.
Yep.
I thought there was another one too. I think it was more like the there was a couple other DMC5 enemies in there too that I just can't.
Later on, like a little later on, there's the Furies.
Yeah. I thought that the Scythe enemies was...
I don't remember, honestly. They might have been, though. But
yeah,
maybe when like ladies infiltrating the base or whatever.
Yeah, I have the Netflix show pulled up right here, too, so I can kind of skim through it as we're talking just to see. But like kind of going into the, the lady... infiltration scene, I think my favorite thing about this entire thing is that this was one of my problems that I had with season 1, and we're not even like 5 minutes in, and the issue is still present, which is something is happening on the screen, but then someone off screen is also explaining what is happening in real time instead of just having us watch it. And because Lady's wearing a stealth suit, right? And at one point she turns invisible, and Arias goes, "Oh, by the way, this suit can turn invisible, but you can only turn invisible for a certain period of time," and then she, reappears. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, I really hope that this is an ongoing theme in this episode with this suit, and that way we can see it. But then she only wears the suit for the one episode. So it's not like it really matters in the rest of the season anyway, but I digress.
Yeah, this is a problem with like the Lady arsenal kind of in general, is that they just have her use something for like a plot purpose, and then she just kind of moves on. This was also a thing in season 1 where she like uses some trick thing on Dante once and then never does it again. And it's like,
yeah,
what, dude? What I was going to say is that like with the whole getting away with murder thing, Doc and I touched a lot on this in the first season analysis, is that like the politics that are on display in this series are generally pretty terrible. And
oh yeah.
And I don't know about you, Antonio, but I don't like a scene of getting away with murder being played to US troops invading what is essentially a foreign country. I feel like there's something wrong with that.
Listen, I'm not going to disagree with you there, but I think that Arias's dialogue distracts you just enough to where you're pissed off about this one thing.
That's fair.
And you're not going to be pissed off about this other thing until you sit down and think about it more in depth. Because I'm imagining that most people watching this show are probably only going to watch it one time. Maybe they're not going to think about those small details. But I agree that when you go back and you really think about it, and I feel like this is a thing with the entire show in general, is like you can watch it all the way through and go like, oh, that was pretty good. Like, or, it was all right. There were some things I didn't like. But then when you go back and watch it, you're like, oh, there's this thing. Oh, there's this thing. Oh, there's this thing. And this was kind of the thing that I'm going to find kind of interesting as we talk, because I think me watching the show, like with my audience, I have a more positive experience because I walked out of it going like, oh yeah, I thought that was pretty nice. Like I thought it was better than the first season, because I think the first season I gave a C+, and then by the end of my watch along for this, I was like, oh, I'll give it like a B minus. Like it improves some things. There's some things I still don't like, but we're kind of getting there. But then, I'm not watching it with my audience anymore. I'm rewatching it and I'm sitting there like, okay, I think I can kind of see what the issues are now. So I feel like by the end of this discussion, I am going to have a more negative opinion on it as we just go through it. So, but anyways, yeah, getting away with murder, am I right? And I also love how Arias, because he just can't shut up apparently. He's like, oh, by the way, lady, make sure that you don't do anything else like saving these refugees, because you only have a certain amount of time to get this thing that I'm asking you to get. And then she just directly disobeys it about 2 seconds later because we had to hear it, of course.
Of course. People looking up from doing their laundry like, what was she doing? Oh, okay. All right. Back to folding now. I can keep going.
Yes, exactly. I also love too the emphasis on flashing back to things that literally just happened 2 seconds ago, because again, people are folding laundry. Like I'm literally watching this scene right now where the lady's about to shoot the rocket like at Goliath, and it's a flashback scene of all of her friends getting murdered. And hold on, where are we at? This is about 7 minutes in, and this scene of everybody getting murdered happened at minute 2. So I'm not really sure if that's an insult to our intelligence or if that's just how people are when they watch these shows in general. But I really don't like that, and I wish they would stop.
Yeah, it's just a lot of jump cuts. What I will say is that like when we get introduced to Mundus here, before he like displays his power. And like generally I think the scene where he like is murking all of the US military, I feel like that it's hard to get this character wrong, and I feel like they do actually a decent job of this guy in here, you know, especially like when the Scudo is so bold as to say, well, like, hey, if you could just like help us out, if you could just display your power, and Mundus is like, you think to command me? And I was like, yes. All right, you know, okay, maybe we got something here a little bit. And I do like that they just retained the look from the DMC1 fight. I'm glad they didn't try to redesign him. It feels like they kind of just ripped him straight from the game. And
yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too.
So I was like, that's cool. I like that. I do think that like this lady stuff is also supposed to like invoke a lot of the lady spy stuff that was really popular during like the 2000s, like Aeon Flux, Ghost in the Shell, The Operative, No One Lives Forever, that sort of stuff. But also,
yeah,
I can't help but feel like one of the problems with Lady is that they spend a lot of time having her not be Lady. Like,
yeah, I agree with that. And the Ghost of the Shell thing is also interesting too, because I didn't even think about that until you mentioned it, because like her like stealth suit right now is like this super sleek bodysuit, and again it has like the properties, you can turn invisible, it has like a hidden knife. I don't even think she has a gun in this scene at all. She's just,
I don't think so,
slicing people. She's just slicing demons with a knife, and like she has like the Raiden visor, which is really weird.
It does look cool, I will say.
It does look like a really cool outfit, but I will say this is also where we get our first Lady F-bomb, which is really cool, because she's like looking on like the military, and she goes, all for a fucking cup. And I'm like, oh, there's one. There's my shot. All right, let's see how many more of these we have to go through.
Did you actually take a tally of this season? Or, because I know I think you tallied it for the first season, right? Or maybe somebody else I know did.
RK tallied it.
Okay.
RK tallied it. I gotta talk to him again to see how many there actually are here, because it feels like the first 2 or 3 episodes it's like sprinkled in here and there, but I feel like as the show progresses there's less of them, which, you know, that's one of my positives, is that like she still has a couple of them, but it's not overbearing. It's not crazy.
Yeah.
Exactly, but I heard that first one and I'm like, uh-oh.
Oh no,
that's one and we're on the first episode. So going into one of my most vocal downgrades in this entire in this show, the intro sequence is awful.
Oh dude,
and I hate it. It is so bad, especially I know that we were all kind of like memeing on Limp Bizkit and the intro sequence from the first season, but like I like the idea that they were going for. Yeah. And it was a really cool, like super stylized intro sequence, and it gave it a lot of personality. Whereas here it's first of all, it's the song Jackpot. It's the same song that plays when Dante's like fighting the demons in the alley for the first time. And like it's an okay song, but it's like it's not my favorite. So hearing that as the intro sequence, and then just having, you know, the explosions in the background with Dante and Lady just shooting target, it just like it just feels very lazy. And I remember Adi at some point on Twitter said that like each title sequence that they had was going to be reminiscent of like the time period that it was going to be set in, or that he kind of wanted to adapt or whatever. And I thought they did a good job with that in the first season.
I think so.
It's a shame to see that they didn't do that for season 2. And I really hope that they bring it back. And I don't know what the reason is, but I really liked it in the first season, and this is just really bad. So I wish that they would fix it.
Yeah, I think that like for lack of a better phrase, I feel like the budget cut, there were probably some budget constraints this time around, because there's just less like, I mean, there's less expensive music in this season. Like there's like, they got Rollin', they got Guerrilla Radio, they got a lot of these songs for the first season that are very Devil May Cry to put in there.
Yeah.
And I'm just surprised that they didn't license Rollin' for another season. And it's like also half the length. I think it clocks in, including the snake showing up. It's about like 29 seconds, whereas the other one was like a minute and 10. And I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I just put Them Bones by Alice in Chains over this intro, and it like elevates it.
I did quite see a lot. That, yeah. I think it does too. And again, it's like the music, and I think this is a problem with the music in general that we'll gradually touch upon, but it's like, yeah, it's used in the wrong place at the wrong time and under the wrong circumstances. Like I said, Jackpot is an okay song for what they had in the first season in the scene that it was shown in. But for the intro sequence of this, it just sounds like generic garage band rock, and it doesn't really get you excited. Like, even when I was watching the first season, or when I do my rewatches, I will watch the intro sequence because it is super unique and stylized, and it like kind of amps you up a little bit, you know. Whereas this is like, yeah, like this is the intro. Like, I would skip this intro sequence every single time because it just feels very generic.
Yeah, it's just and then, it's just not great.
Yeah, but I do like how they refer to this season as Devil May Cry 2 in the intro sequence. So it's not neat. Devil May Cry. There's the 2. And I like that they do that. And I hope that they will, I'm sure they're going to continue that, but I think that just kind of adds another layer to it. I don't know if like the Castlevania series or like anything else that Adi worked on did that, but I like that they did it here, and I hope that they continue it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty neat. The next scene here is Nello Angelo versus the Furies. We also kind of get introduced to one of the secretaries of Arius, which notable lack of actual Lucia in this show. Even though they tease her in the first season, I thought for sure we would see her. Spoilers, everybody. You don't see Lucia at all. You just see the secretaries that look like Lucia. Which to me is just a huge fumble, first of all.
Yeah, I think too, like, and again, this is kind of where like I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate. I understand why Lucia is not in here, because they replace Lucia's character and like how she's involved with Arius with Virgil, and how he's going to be involved with Arius and the Ouroboros. So like I can kind of see why they didn't have room for her. And I also just don't know. I feel like with what they were trying to go for with like Virgil in this season, there may have been too many cooks in the kitchen at that point, because we already have like Virgil taking a huge focus in the season, and then like Lady taking a bigger focus in this season too. And then there isn't even any room for Dante, really. So I think adding Lucia to the mix would have made it too crowded. But I think that if Arius was still alive by the end of this season, spoiler alert, he's not, then it would make sense to introduce Lucia. But because he's not, if they want to introduce her, they're going to have to completely change who she is and why she exists, and like her role as, you know, like the secretary that got away, essentially. Yeah. And I could see them kind of doing something like that, but then the question becomes, okay, well then what's her purpose going to be? Like, if she's just she's not really, she has no reason to really help out Dante or anything, and Ouroboros is going to be gone by the end of this anyway. So, but I do appreciate that they did have 4 Furies in this scene. They all talk, which is so bizarre to hear the Furies talking shit. But then, like, I don't know. It's really cool seeing, like, that enemy in particular going up against Virgil, and they're like, teleporting all over the place. I just liked that, like, those moments.
Yeah. And then, I mean, Nello Angelo kind of just, like, shows up, and I do think that this is, like, a generally good scene. Like, we kind of get to see the power of the secretaries a little bit. We get to see Virgil being a little badass, though I do kind of think the secretary's accent is a little ham and like a little bad. Mm-hmm. But like, other than that, I think it's like an okay scene. Also, it was a little badass when she was just like immolates herself in front of Virgil, and like that's just kind of it. It's like, all right.
Yeah.
And then
that was all to show the Ouroboros logo too.
That's true. Yeah. Because then Virgil's like, oh, and then we find out what that means later on. They also, it's at after this point cut back to like these newscasts that is like in line with what happens in season 1, and everybody's kind of like talking about what's going on. And then we actually get introduced to Arius proper, and I gotta say, like, I feel like this guy is actually one of my like more favorite parts of this season. Like, I generally enjoyed what they did with him this season. He gave me a lot more vibes of like a Wesker type character in this.
Yeah. I think it's funny how I think I even said this during my watch along, because we're like halfway through the first episode and I'm like, wow, Arius has been given more attention and screen time and dialogue in this one episode than he was in his entire game. That's true. Pretty crazy.
It's true.
But you also skipped over an important character, Cosmic, and I can't believe you did this. You skipped over Tom Remington Jr., Darkom's new recruit, who
the football guy. Oh my god.
He's so distinct because he has a football patch on his uniform. How could you forget about our new favorite D&C character, Tom Remington Jr.?
This is just like when the other Darkom soldiers...
We don't need Lucia in this season.
True.
Lucia doesn't matter. Nobody likes Lucia. Everyone is gun-ho about Tom Remington Jr. and his football.
I just realized, did they give us crew cut in Netflix anime, in Netflix DMC? Is this basically this game's crew cut? Because he does have a crew cut.
No, because crew cut seems like he actually does stuff. Tom Remington Jr., he doesn't do anything until the very end of the show.
True, yeah. It's just reminds me
I think
of,
I did make a joke too.
This just reminds me of like the different Darkom soldiers that show up in season 1, and they like have small distinct features, and we're like supposed to care about them, but they just don't do much. So it's like, all right.
I think I made the joke at one point. Like I think it was the actual episode where they all get dusted, which I think is episode 4. And I was like, I know that none of these guys are going to survive by the end of the season, but I would like to see more of them do stuff. And in that same episode, they all die. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I don't know why we had the slow pan shot of all of these guys, and we spent so much time with them just for them to all get dusted by Echidna and Cavalier Angelo.
I mean, they did. You just hate to see it. I will say too that like I think that Arius's voice actor is like one of the better performances, and like on that note as well, I do still kind of feel bad for Ian James Corlett, who is playing VP Baines this season, because that guy just has some huge shoes to fill. He does like do a pretty good job this season, but like what could have been for Kevin Conroy being in this role. If people don't know, Ian James Corlett played like Firebrand in MVCI, and he also is Reed Richards in Marvel Rivals. Pretty cool. You were saying?
Yeah, that was the one thing with Baines that I was very distracted by, because I'm like, I know that I cannot sit here and say this isn't Kevin Conroy and he passed away, and I get it, but I'm like, man, like it's I just can't unhear it now. That's the only issue. So, and it's not even it is what it is, and he did do a good job with what he was given.
Yep.
But like you said, like what could have been, and I was actually trying to look for instances where Kevin may have potentially had lines for season 2, but I didn't hear it. And I'm imagining that it would have been too jarring to have like an entire season of Ian's voice and then switching over to Kevin. Whereas I guess in the last season it was primarily Kevin, and then I think it was still Ian. He filled in for some stuff when like Kevin passed for like, re-recording and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, the unfortunate part is that it is just really distracting because we heard Kevin Conroy for an entire season.
Yeah. And Baines is a cool character. I think he's generally pretty good. Does a good job of playing the psycho. I do want to actually hand you over the reins for this next scene. This is like Virgil and Jester. Mostly, I think that the start to this scene is really cool, where he's like sort of trying to wipe away the memories of his family with the sword. But take it away. Yeah.
Yes. Well, before we do that, Cosmic, I do need to go into a quick change of scenery. You said it. I said it. We all said it. So, thank you, Adi Shankar, for giving me an excuse to go to a hardware store and spend $20 so I can sit here with my good buddy Cosmic on his
It's a good bit.
channel.
Canonizing the plastic chair,
talk about
man.
this scene. Canonizing the plastic chair. At this moment, when that stupid chair showed up, my brain shut off. I was like, okay, this is now the Wacky Yahoo Pizza Man show, and I can't take it seriously. I'm just going to like, I think at that point I would have taken a million shots and I would have started like doing backflips every time I saw Virgil doing something cool. Like, and like, it's funny because, okay, and I will say this, right? So here's the thing with the plastic chair, right? And this is going to be the rant about the plastic chair now. So here it is, everybody. So as you know, the plastic chair is like now like the face of the DMC meme community, right?
Yeah,
everyone jokes about the plastic chair.
Yeah.
It's like, haha, funny plastic chair, right? The problem is it's so popular that everybody associates the plastic chair with DMC and Virgil now, which is kind of like a blessing and a curse at the same time. Because like I after the show aired, I looked on Twitter because I'm like, everyone's talking about the plastic chair. The one post that I think was like reposted the most, like by the time that the end of the day happened, it had like 1 million views already.
Jesus.
So it's very clear that like this was intentional, not just to have the plastic chair reference and the joke, but it also brought a good amount of attention to the show.
Yeah.
And I think that that's also kind of maybe what they're going for. And I mean, heck, like I know that we've talked about this before, but like I have people in my like normal life who we talk about like DMC and, you know, Bury the Light, Devil Trigger, whatever. And I was listening to Bury the Light one day and my buddy was like, wait, I've heard this song before. What's it from? I'm like, oh, it's from Devil May Cry, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, oh, is that the one with the plastic chair? And I'm like, yep. That's the one with the plastic chair. Uh-huh. Yep. And he's like, oh, yeah, I've seen that. It's so cool. And I'm like, yep. But, and that's just how it is, you know? I just think it's hilarious that everybody called it and it happened. And my wife was watching it. And I was like, I need you to look up from your phone and like, just look at this. Like, just look at this scene real quick. And the plastic chair happened and she giggled. And I was like, so why did you giggle? Like, so she understands it. I'm like, so I was like, why? I was like, do you think this is funny? And she goes, I think it's funny because the clown was the one who put up the plastic chair. And I'm like, okay,
that's fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm getting out of this plastic chair the second that this scene is over. This is uncomfortable as shit.
I was going to say, if you did this for like the whole however long we do this, I'd have been like, that's dedication. I can't fight that.
No, I'm listen, I'm sitting like on my feet right now. If I actually sit in the plastic chair comfortably, I'm going to be like this the entire episode. But anyway, so the thing about this scene too is that it's like a recreation of this scene where Virgil and Arkham talk for the first time in a way, because like even Virgil like draws a sword and like points it to his neck and whatever.
Yeah.
But like there's such a lack of like substance here. Yeah. And I guess like with Virgil in particular, this is something that I kind of noticed was he's easily emotional, which is very different from how Virgil is in the games. And even here, like, Jester's clearly rage baiting him, and it's working. And he doesn't even have to do a good job of, like, trying to convince him that, like, he should go to the human world and, like, beat the crap out of Arius and Ouroboros and everything. I have the image of Jester sitting in the plastic chair again, jeez.
Oh, my gosh.
But I gotta say, I was a little surprised to actually see Jester, or them actually like go the Jester route, because I know that we didn't really see Arkham die in the first season, but yeah. Do you? Oh, I have one more thing to add after this, but do you have anything with this scene that
I
you
mean,
would like to get off your chest, Cosmic?
I just rolled my eyes at this scene, bro. Like, they had me, and I was like paying attention because he's like, oddly enough, right? And again, I talked about this in season 1, is that this show really gets the relationship between Eva and her sons so right,
Yes.
and like Virgil's remembering all these things about like Dante and his mom, and he just decides like in that moment he's going to wipe it away while he's cleaning his sword. And it's like pretty basic imagery, but I also think that like this is a shonen at its core. Like having basic imagery like that is pretty fine for and in line with the tone of the show. So I really did like that. And then like Jester comes in and I'm like, oh, okay, he's, just being Jester. And then he pulls out the staff and I see the white shape come out and I'm like, and so what I had done at that point was like out of the corner of my eye, I'm like watching for a DM from you. And I'm like, at what point is Redgrave going to just message me and be like, so how about that upholstery in the first episode? But like, oh man,
I think I'm not even kidding. 30 seconds later, I said something along the lines of Cosmic is going to flip out when he sees this. I was half tempted to just send you a picture of the plastic chair, but I didn't want to spoil it because I didn't know when you would watch it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just
here.
Oh my gosh. People in Discords that I was in as I was watching it, they're like posting it and they're like, please tell me this is an edit. And I was like, nope, that's just there.
So here's an interesting thing to point out too. And I think like, I'm not really sure how exactly I can judge this and who I can. All right, I'll explain it this way, right? So Virgil does the iconic DMC5 pose, right, where he's holding the sheath here, he's grabbing the sword here, and he unsheaths it, right? Like it's his like character render in DMC5, right? So I'm watching the scene. It's like a blink and you miss it moment where he does it, but you clearly see like, oh, it's the DMC5 render, right? Blah blah blah. He's holding the sword backwards.
Yep. Yeah.
In this scene, he's holding it backwards. And the martial artist in me, because I saw it during my rewatch. I was like, wait a minute. And I looked it back and I'm like, he's holding the sword backwards when he does this. He's supposed to be holding it the other way because when he draws it. So I don't really know who to blame for that one. But that is like a really, really silly oversight that I can't unsee it anymore. So,
I think he also kind of like sheathes it in a way that's like impossible or something. It's like physically impossible for you to like do it that way. Something like that.
Yeah. I think even when wait, hold on one second. I got to look at this again because when he unsheaths it is the sword. I didn't look at this like super slow-mo, but because when he unsheaths it, yeah, he's holding it backwards, and then when he swings down, it's the right way. Very odd.
That's so
also,
odd.
I was going to mention this earlier, just because now we're talking about Virgil. I looked back at the ending of season 1, and his kneecaps you can't really see, but I feel like it's just enough to where like the stupid like knee guard thing that he has isn't there. But when we go into the next episode and they like do the pan around, they clearly cut away from where you would see that part of his knee.
What the heck?
So like yeah, do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it's just a strange decision really to like change that.
Because I couldn't remember if they actually showed his knee or not, but I knew the knee guard wasn't there. And I looked back at season 1 and you can like just see the very, very, very top of his knee, just barely. Okay. But even then you would see the knee guard.
Yeah.
But it's not like clearly he has it here in this season, but when they recreate, or they don't recreate, they reuse the scene from season 1, right when you're about to turn to see his knee, they cut it. And then it's like a weird cut with Dante, and then they cut back and it's at his torso and it goes up. So it was very interesting that they did that.
That is strange.
But anyway, Jester disappears and we get this glorious long shot of Virgil looking in the distance and a plastic chair.
And I think we're on from that scene, so you can return to your comfortable chair now.
Yes. Oh, actually, one last thing, because this is exactly where the DMC thing is at right now. If you look at Twitter on the Netflix account, there's this, like, you know how they have those like promotional pictures where they have like the actors like, you know, standing in like or cool poses and sitting in cool poses and whatever. There's one right now where it's Dante and Virgil, and Dante is sitting in like a higher up chair, like an actor's chair almost. And guess what fucking chair?
Oh my
they
gosh,
have
dude.
Virgil sitting in.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, that's gonna be the end of the plastic chair.
Plastic chair is defeated.
Get out of here, plastic chair.
Well, at least now you have something to wear, like when you decide to sunbathe on your lawn or something, I guess.
Exactly. It's gonna be very interesting writing this on my taxes for write-offs as well, because technically I can use it if I put it on camera.
That's facts.
Why is there a plastic chair in your content creation expenses? You wouldn't believe me if I told you, my friend. Anyways, next scene we have is a bar, and Virgil shows up in his human form, and I feel like we're gonna get a really cool scene where Virgil does the thing to Beowulf, where he like flips up and does the cool like I'm gonna kill you, and then the behind the back she thing, but then that doesn't happen. Beowulf just like lets him go, which whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, whatever. It's Beowulf. I pointed and I said, "Oh hey, it's Beowulf."
It's Beowulf. I know what that is, Adi. Thanks, bro.
Yeah, exactly. So I also think, again, kind of talking about like Virgil and his relationship with Mundus and everything. You know, everyone was flipping out last season when Virgil was like, Mundus freed me from my bondage and he's my master, and we're all like, what did you just say, my guy? Like, yeah, right. Hello. But what I like about this, I guess, interpretation, I feel like I'm kind of in this weird middle ground where I can like here's my DMC fandom, like I can take the show and put it over here, and I can take the OG timeline and all that other stuff and throw it over here and kind of say like, okay, I want to see where they're going to go with this, because it feels like the interpretation that they're going with is that, you know, you had the DMC 1 manga, right, where Virgil's Gilver, and he's not like fully Nilo Angelo, but like he's Virgil still.
Yeah.
And it kind of follows the timeline of like Virgil was kidnapped and then kind of brainwashed as Mundus. And I knew that that's kind of the interpretation that they were going to go with. And I was interested in seeing what they were going to do with it. And I think that having that also tie in with Arius and the Ouroboros and Mundus using Virgil to take out the rest of like Argosax's followers and everything was a pretty like novel idea. And then he basically gets his Sparta back because, you know, Virgil is Sparta's son.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a pretty interesting thing that like throughout the course of the show, I knew eventually where it was going to go, but I thought it was a good explanation as to why Virgil is doing the things that he's doing, and then not just like throwing up my pitchforks and saying like this is the worst thing ever because this is not how I see Virgil. Like I can fully separate it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that I honestly think that the whole idea of like him being indoctrinated by Mundus from a pretty young age is like actually a pretty good idea. I generally, that sort of like through line in this season, I was pretty okay with it. Because I mean, the fact that this season surf Dracula's a lot of things. You can't really like just accept that Virgil is sort of like an evil dude. There's really got to be like some motivator for a lot of these Netflix shows. They got to trace the origin back somewhere. And
Yeah.
I think that it's good that they give him a pretty good reason to sort of be at odds with everybody, essentially, other than Mundus. And then eventually he has a reason to also be at odds with Mundus. So I actually think that's like one of the much less egregious parts of the plot here. And I mean, the scenes with Virgil, like where he's like training and Mundus is just like filling his head with all these lies and all that. It's like, it's very clear that like, the seeds were like already planted in Virgil when he was like pretty young, especially with how jealous he was of Dante. And like Mundus sort of just pushes him over the edge and gives him a reason to like just kind of hate everything and like cast aside his humanity. So I'm actually kind of okay with this, to be honest. Like, I definitely just prefer it sort of being shrouded in mystery a little bit where they diverge morally, the two brothers. But if you're going to have some kind of explanation, I think this is actually a pretty okay one. So
yeah, and like I was saying earlier too, having this be, you know, Virgil kind of taking over as the I need to defeat Arius because he's a follower of Argosax the Chaos, and having that, basically just having him being used as a pawn for that, I think was kind of a good way of like writing Lucia out. And then having it's Virgil, true, yeah. Like giving Virgil a reason to go after Arius. Yep. That being said, one of the things I just realized is that if Mundus wants to invade the human world so badly that he needs like the fully completed Sparta sword and the 2 amulets and whatever, right? In this next scene, he's also like, oh, hey, by the way, Virgil, you can do this really cool thing where you like make a little cross
cut time,
and then you can just go into the human world. Like, oh yeah, you can do that. Like, does Mundus like take the Yamato and he's like, how the fuck do I
like, Mundus can't use it well enough. It's like, dude,
he's like, he's using it like a Minecraft sword. He's like, I cannot understand the power of the Yamato. And Virgil's like, watch this shit. He's like, oh, a T. Not for nothing, but I was making a circle. Anyways, so I also got to say that Virgil's like training outfit is pretty cool looking.
That's true.
It's I like teenage Virgil training and doing stuff. And then we get to the scene where Virgil goes to the human world, and the man who in the DMC3 manga was about to get jumped by somebody and killed him so fast that he couldn't even finish his sentence before he just disintegrated, gets ambushed by military people and Tom Remington Jr. with guns and electricity, and it seems like he's kind of losing because he is going up against Tom Remington Jr., who I guess is like so powerful that he can just take on a sword that can cut through anything supposedly and cut through space-time. I guess
they make Virgil drop Yamato, and it's like
they do.
Like, dude, what are we doing here? Like, this is one of those, like, I know that power levels in shonen are like typically just as convenient as writers need them to be, but also this feels like just a misstep in general. And then of course it's used to set up like drowning pool bodies for this fight scene, because it's like, okay, but like we have all this build up. You could have just had Virgil launch into bodies by drowning pool and just kill all these guys in the blink of an eye. And it's like,
yeah, exactly.
I feel like that's even cooler than the build up that we had, like of him dropping Yamato and everything.
Or like the guy's like, hey, Virgil, you're trespassing because you're a demon and we hate you, and he's just like, nope. And then everyone appears, and then that's when the buildup happens. But I guess we just really needed a scene where Virgil got tased so that Tom Remington Jr. could have his moment. Wait, what? Wait, hold on. what was the line that he said? I have it right here. Because they needed him to go up to Virgil in his moment of weakness and say, and I quote, "Got you, you demon-blooded bitch." The devil ain't got shit on Uncle Sam.
Dude, I gotta say, the insults that characters generally throw in this show, or like the moments that are supposed to be like super hardcore and badass, there's very few of them that actually land. Like, it's just it's like, and the ones that could have landed, they're so overwritten. Like, if he just said the devil ain't got shit on Uncle Sam, I'd probably be like, okay, that's kind of funny. But you demon-blooded bitch.
Got you, you demon-blooded bitch. And then Virgil, okay, so I will go into this little tangent and then we'll get to the bodies hitting the floor. I hate this song. And there's a very specific reason why I hate this song. It's because when I was a kid, and I did martial arts and stuff like that, right? There was this one kid who I did not really get along with all that much. And he was like known for like, his kama kata, right? Like if you don't know what a kama is, it's like, it's like a stick and then you have a blade here. It's kind of like a, like one of those farm tools.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what it's used for, right? So he was like known for his kama kata, right? And the song that he did his kama kata to was Bodies. And it just was very, very cringy to watch.
Oh my gosh.
So because of that, I have a disdain for this song. And this is a really cool scene where Virgil is just beating the shit out of the U.S. military, but it's kind of ruined by this song. But additionally, the song doesn't really fit all that well with this scene.
Gotta agree.
But we do get our one and only instance of a Mirage Blade. Where he pulls it out of his pocket, throws it at a guy, and then that is the only time we ever see this. One of the most unique attributes about Virgil, and it's used for a song that I don't like, where he pulls it out of his pocket, throws it, and then never uses it again.
I
like
like
the
it when I reach in my
choreography and
empty
stuff
pocket
is like,
and just pull out a sword. Go ahead.
I just realized I don't even think he has a pocket either. But yeah, like the scene itself is like okay. But one of the things that I was actually thinking about, again, during my rewatch and as I was watching this, and this is going to tie into something much, much later in our discussion. But one of the things that I like about Virgil in his fighting style is that he uses the sheath as well as the sword. Like he'll use the sheath and he'll like deflect and hit people and like trip them. But in this action scene, he does nothing but use the sword really to cut people up. He occasionally smacks a guy. And then he does rapid slash one time. Or like the one time he even threw the sword, I was expecting like, the cool round trip thing where it like goes around a bunch of guys and he catches it. But no, it just sticks into one guy and then he goes up and then kicks and punches people. And it I don't know, it just doesn't really feel all that cool when you watch it in general, because you know that he can do more interesting things.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I don't know how you felt about the choreography overall in this season, but I feel like generally speaking, it's a downgrade from what we saw in season 1. I feel like a lot of the movements are like very safe and like grounded. And like this is a totally open space where they could have Virgil cut loose and all they can think to do is have him judgment cut end. Like, like that's the coolest thing he does in the whole scene is judgment cut end. And it's like, they don't.
The rest of it is just like, he's just like, just
hacking
regular
and
basic
whacking and smacking.
Swords. It could literally just be a regular katana made by a human being and the result would be exactly the same.
Yeah.
So, and again, what I was saying with the sheath, that's what I like about Virgil's fighting style is that he uses the sheath along with the sword because he has it. So if he's not going to be smacking people with the sheath either, then what's the point? So, but then we reach the end of the episode. Lady gets her promotion and we basically move on to the next episode.
Yeah, this is just Lady Remorse Part 2. I will say too that like what you touched on before we move on, I will say you touched on bodies and how you don't like it. I also agree this doesn't fit the scene. I feel like a general misuse of licensed music in this season is pretty prevalent. I feel like there's a lot of songs that just don't match the flow of what's going on. And I would like Adi Shankar and company to listen to more than one single from each band of the 2000s, so that they can have a better understanding. Because, like, if you listen to Die for Nothing by Drowning Pool, it probably fits this scene better. Or Step Up by Drowning Pool from the Punisher soundtrack also probably fits this scene better because the soldiers are stepping up to fight Virgil. And the lyrics in that song are, if you want to step up, you're going to get smacked down. Like,
well, you see, Cosmic, Virgil is cutting people and bodies are hitting the floor. So clearly this song is more appropriate for this circumstances.
True. My bad. Truth nuke, honestly. All right. So episode 2, if you want to take it away.
Yes. So we open on protesters, and then we cut to this is supposed to be George Bush, technically, right?
Is that
maybe who this is?
I don't remember.
Okay,
I mean,
we cut to George
George Bush
so
stand-in.
We cut to George Bush stand-in playing with his guns in this one scene more than Dante does in the entire series. And we're at this dinner party. And and then Virgil infiltrates
he infiltrates the prison, and this is when we get back to the end of season 1. So now we're caught up with season 1 at the beginning of episode 2.
I was struggling a little bit to say Virgil entered the prison to free the demon refugees from the U.S. military, because this is what Devil May Cry is about now.
I am that storm.
But what I think is kind of interesting about this season in general is that I feel like obviously the political commentary is still there, but I feel like a goal of this season was to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And Arius kind of steps in as the well, actually, I'm the one funding Baines' operation because I want to resurrect Argosax the Chaos. And the the president's like, what? and that's basically how the plot progresses. And then we see that the president's like, yeah, you started a war with hell, and I want to get reelected. And it's just kind of like that. So he's now trying to get rid of Arius and Baines because he doesn't want to continue the war with hell that he started. But anyways, we get distracted from that because we have a scene of Lady working out.
Honestly, pretty based.
And I have no notes.
I don't really like this version of Lady, but moving on.
I don't like this version of Lady, but you know what, Adi Shankar? You know what some DMC fans want.
I guess so, yeah. You know what a couple of them want. Yeah. I guess this is also where Dante gets woken up because of Arius being like, oh yeah, I'm going to use Dante, or I'm going to use Lady to control Dante, or Dante to control Lady, or whatever. And he says oh, this is why I promoted her. And then this is where the series continues its exposition dump. There's a whole lot of them exposition dumping to the camera and this therapist that's there. And I feel like they could have just had the reunion scene between the two of them, and that would have been a lot more earnest and a lot better in general.
Oh, 100%. You're telling me, Cosmic, that you didn't like the JoJo reference?
All right, listen, man. I love JoJo as much as the next guy, but that shit was tremendously unfunny. I was like, the animation style is a little cute before they get to the whole JoJo reference thing, but I was like, man, I just show me the tender, earnest interaction between Lady and Dante, where Dante's like, fuck, Virgil's here. Like, oh shit, he's alive. Like that was
Yeah.
good.
Well,
That scene's good.
well, well, and the irony of it too, like, when you go into Lady's recollection and then you hear, the total result from DMC3 amplifying the emotional scene that they have, and Dante and Lady are having an actual serious talk. Like, it's sad that that's a joke to poke fun of this is what the DMC fans actually want to see. But instead of that, we're going to have, hey, Dante, your fucking brother's alive. And
Oh
he
my
goes,
God. He's like,
but like,
oh fuck.
yeah. But I even said, like, the lady flashback is how I would have wanted the scene to go in the first place.
Yeah.
And frankly, if they just had the entire show be this, it would still be really good. But, I digress. JoJo references,
Wacky
whatever.
Wahoo. Also, I'll take this opportunity to say I don't really like that Dante's design this season is just gray military bodysuit with his coat over it. And then, like, in a lot of instances, I feel like the long hair looks good in some ways, but then also in other shots, it doesn't look very good. Like, I can't decide whether or not I actually like it, because I like, long hair Dante in DMC5. I think that's cool. But also, there's plenty of scenes where I'm like, this doesn't look right. There's something off about how they're drawing this character. But the military bodysuit just feels very not him. So I'm like,
no,
I don't really like this.
Really doesn't. I do have to agree with that, but what I think is interesting is that, the 5,000 times that they flash back to the first season and you see Dante's hair the way that it used to be, I prefer this. But like you said, there are other times where it just doesn't look all that great. It's almost like, I'm looking at it right now, it's almost like too long on the sides and then the back. But if it was like up here, then it would be like the Banes being longer down the front, I think actually works, but the sides and the back are too long. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty accurate.
Yeah. There's also, I remember seeing like he and Virgil were playing with I think it was in Super Nintendo controller, which I think is kind of interesting because DMC was never on the Super Nintendo, but that's a whole other, like, it doesn't matter.
I don't know,
but I noticed it.
It's a little weird.
Yeah. And now we go to Agent Tony Redgrave, where Dante meets Arius, and he's like, okay, I guess I'm just gonna work with all you guys now, which is
a little questionable.
Cool.
Also a little questionable. But it's like, I mean, if he doesn't work with them, then we don't have a plot of the season. So it's like, okay, I guess we'll just go with it.
Yeah, and he's talking about, like, I'm on the scene right now. He's like, didn't you have a bunch of experiments so you could drink blood to stay young or something? And Arius is just like, oh, you Americans and whatever. Which, like, you know what? That's totally fair. But then Dante just does the, okay, I believe you. And then that's that.
So strange. You want to talk about No Goldstein?
And then we get back to
I like this scene. So go for it.
I do have a bit of a take with the Nell Goldstein scene. So first of all, I love Nell Goldstein. She's voiced by Tara Strong, which I found out, which, like, after I heard it bothers me just because I feel like Tara Strong is in, like, a lot of media and her voice isn't as distinct anymore. So it just sounds like she's doing Harley Quinn with, like a smoker's accent. So the tactical reload inspiration, I have talked about this numerous times. When I first saw this scene, when they were teasing it, I was like, oh, this choreography is pretty cool, but it feels strange compared to everything else that we've seen so far. And then that's when people were putting together that it was the tactical reload animations.
Yep.
And from there, I know that they got permission from those guys to do it, But and Dante, when he gets a new weapon, he plays around with his gun. He plays around with the guns. He plays around with the weapons. I get it, but it's like the stuff that he does here is almost a little too outlandish, like even for him. And the animation being essentially copied 1-to-1 with the camera angles and everything, that's kind of where I'm like, that's where it loses me a little bit. Like, I like the scene and I think the concept of it is really cool, but I feel like it would have been better if it was, he had the first set of reload animations with just with Ebony, or I've been saying this, like if he does like the one tactical pose right here and then like flips the gun up, like I think that would be a cheeky like, oh, I feel like I've seen this somewhere before. Oh, this is tactical, like, oh, he did the tactical reload pose, like that's cool. But then they just keep doing it for the rest of the scene. And again, this is just me being a nitpicky asshole, but like the animation that he has with Ivory, where he hits his knee with the cartridge and like it goes into the gun and like you see the POV of the gun and he's like the juggle around to like the pose is cool, but like everything before that was just like so weird. It's just seeing it again done 1-to-1 from tactical reload, and then he does the cool flips and whatever, and Lady's like, oh my god, that was so hot, Dante. And Nell Goldstein was like, oh my god, that was so cool. And it's like, Lady, you've seen the shit that Dante can do. like why are you of
surprised?
all people, like, why are you surprised? Like, if Nell Goldstein was like, holy shit, and Lady was like, yep,
yeah,
now do you see why we want this guy? And then do you want to take away the Virgil
oh yeah.
show?
So this is like a problem that I also have with this show, is that there's so many like points in this show where you can trace back to what they're referencing, and this isn't as on the nose as their other things. And like you already said, it's a little weird to like 1-to-1 copy tactical reload, and they like 1-to-1 copy or reference other things, and like there's a lot of stuff that's just sort of pulled disparately from different places.
Yeah.
And I feel like this Stan Sullivan show that Virgil goes on is a nod to the Joker scene where he goes on that talk show. And there's even like the exchange where Virgil like says something that everybody's like, but instead of like in Joker where he just doubles down, Virgil's like, oh, I'm just kidding with you. And then he basically just declares war on Arius and like exposes a bunch of stuff. And he's about to like land the ultimate PR blow, and then they cut him off. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like it almost feels too formal for even a character like Virgil to do this. Like, he clearly doesn't want to deal with like humans at all, it seems like. So it's weird for him to just like want to go on this human talk show and just say a bunch of weird, like a bunch of stuff to them. It just feels like they wanted to have a Joker type TV like talk show scene where the antagonist is like saying shit.
well, now that you mention it too, we have to think about where he was before this scene happened as well, because like he interrogates Tom Remington Jr. about like, who do you work for and where can I find them, and then he goes to the demon refugee camp, and then after that he should know who Darkham is and where to go and what to do. But instead of doing that, he goes on the talk show to then get a call from the president who says, hey, I want you to kill these guys. And Virgil's like, oh, sick. I should go and do that. Like, I feel like he should already know where the Darkham base is, right?
Yeah.
So it is kind of weird, like, when you pointed out that unless he's like just trying to expose all
he
of
might
the
just be
crappy
trying to
things
fuck
that
with
Arius and Dark.
But like, I don't know.
That does kind of seem like what it is, but I feel like it would just be more effective for him to like do his little T-pose with Yamato and then just find Arius and like hit him in the head with his sword and kill him. Like I don't know, like if he really, because that's what he was gonna go do anyway.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And we'll talk about that again in a second, but like, yeah, it does seem kind of weird that like all of these references are being pulled from this thing, that thing. It's almost like it's almost like you're like kind of like writing a script for something, you know? And like you have an idea for the thing that you want to write, but you don't really know how to say it. So you're like, I'm going to take this intro, I'm going to take this part from this thing, this part from this thing, and then you combine all those things together and then boom, like there's your script.
Yeah.
So it feels kind of jarring when and it's interesting that you say that, because I didn't think that was like a Joker thing. I just, again, I'm sitting there like I saw a plastic chair about 20 minutes ago. I'm not thinking of anything anymore. But when you sit down and think about it, it's like, yeah, why is he on a talk show? Why is he doing this? Oh, it's so that the president can call him and tell him where Darkcom is, but he should know where Darkcom is because he knows that these are the guys that are invading his world and taking his... No, they're not his... I'm tired, Cosmic. Anyways, so Lady finds out that Baines did in fact kill all of the demon refugees that she kind of gave a shit about in that one building. And Dante is pissed because Virgil really is on Mundus's side and he wants to be on the talk show and he's the jealous younger brother. And then we see that Virgil, instead of doing the thing that he could probably do, which is I'm going to make my T-pose with the sword and then I'm going to teleport to Darkcom and bonk Arius on the head and kill him, he instead is flying. He flies now? He flies now. To Darkcom. He flies from wherever the hell Sullivan's TV studio is all the way down to Washington where Darkcom is. So that way he can punch Arius in the head really hard. And
Nello Angelo flies now, man.
I'm just like, Nello Angelo flies now. And then Dante is getting ready to fight Virgil, and now we're on episode 3.
I will say, at the end of this episode, we do have a very good line from Dante. This is one of the, like, it's a callback to one of the best lines in season 1, where, you know, in season 1 he says, "Don't worry, Mom, I'll get it back." And then, like, you know, he revs the motorcycle and "Cut My Life into Pieces" plays by Papa Roach. Here he says, "Don't worry, Mom, I'll get him back." And then it goes in end credits and I'm like, cinema, bro. Like, they really randomly they just nail these incredible like moments of like family, you know, like, and Eva and her relationship to her sons, like, and it's like we just finished talking about like this really weird stuff that happens, and then 5 minutes later, like, there's a super emotional moment where JYB on the ones and twos just kills it with a really good line read, and it's like sick.
And this is kind of why I'm curious, you know, because season 3 is already greenlit, like what they're gonna do with season 3 now that, like, it seems like, you know, the presidents, we'll talk about that later, and then Baines, we'll talk about that later, but it feels like, you know, season 1 was like the setup, and we have to have, you know, Darkcom and Baines and the president and like stuff to kick the plot forward. And now we're kind of leaning into, okay, now we're going to get rid of that because we don't need it anymore, but we still have to have it in this season. Yeah. So this is kind of, it almost feels like this is kind of like the price to pay for having, you know, the stuff that they introduced in season 1. I don't even know if it's like a course correct thing or if this is kind of what they planned all along, but it feels like as the season progressed, it's leaning more towards what the games were originally about versus what they're trying to do here. And then going off of the credits, I really like the way that they did the credits this season, where there's a bunch of different set pieces in the credits, and each episode that ends, you see a new memory.
Yeah, that is cool.
I thought that was a really cool detail. So now we're on episode 3, the Panther, the Lion, the Wolf. And looking on this episode, the first part that I saw in the subtitles was a dreamy, emotional pop music playing. And Dante and Virgil are like, this is the stuff that I really like seeing. Dante and Virgil as kids doing kid thing. Like it's really good. And what I think is kind of an interesting contrast in this show versus the original series is that Dante seems to be more naturally talented in general than Virgil is. Which is something that's going to kind of play into something I'll talk about later in the episode. But it was really cool to see their relationship and kind of how Eva like treated both of them.
Yeah.
Like she has to coddle Virgil a little bit more because he's not as naturally gifted. And so Dante feels like he's not getting attention because of that, which, older brother, younger brother. It's just like that type of dynamic. But then it all kind of accumulates to the moment where we actually see the demon attack.
Yeah, that is. What is this? This is the twist of Virgil being indoctrinated by Mundus at a young age. And then all of that leading up to like him, I actually forget how much they show of him being like captured and everything at this point in the season. I don't remember if they I think they show Mundus rescuing him too at this point, right?
They do. This is it. So what happens in this episode is like Virgil gets a glass of water so he's not in the room when the demons attack. The demons corner him, and then Eva grabs Dante, and Virgil sees that she grabbed Dante.
Yeah.
And that's when he gets that resentment towards Dante of like, she saved you and she left me to die, when really that isn't what happened. And we know that's not what happened because, we're old, we're mature, and obviously we're watching the show. But like for a 9-year-old kid, like thinking that your mom abandoned you for your younger brother, you're not going to think, oh, I wasn't in the room, so naturally she's not going to save me. Like, he's scared and alone, and, he thinks that his mom forgot about him and saved Dante. And it's really sad. And when I was watching this scene, like I started getting teary-eyed a little bit with just how much like Virgil was being tortured. Like, you're gonna get burned, you're gonna heal, and then we're gonna burn you again.
Yeah.
And I'm
like that is
that was
whoa. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know who the voice actor for young Virgil was, but Jesus, they did a great job with. Yeah, no, it got me very emotional actually just seeing those scenes. And then like you said, Mundus eventually rescues him, and this is where, he kind of manipulates Virgil into thinking like, your father was one of my best soldiers, and to pay him back for everything that he did, I rescued you, and you're gonna like kill all of Argosax's minions and followers, and it's really good stuff.
Yeah.
And again, it's like it's super convincing, and you understand Virgil's logic path of why he's currently doing what he's doing. But then you can see the writing on the wall, like where it's going, but it's about like finding out, okay, how does he find out that Mundus was lying to him the whole time? Like, that it's gonna happen, but we just don't know how it's gonna happen yet. And I think that was, for me, the most interesting part of the entire season, was knowing that Virgil was being played. But what's going to happen after he finds out? And we'll get into that a little bit later as well.
And then like after all this like good emotional core that we have here for the first however many episodes or minutes of the episode, we switch over to an Asmongold lookalike for like a little bit. And I just have in my notes here, please stop.
That is what happened. Yes.
Yes. I have in my notes here, please stop this. This shit is stupid. Fuck Asmongold.
Please stop this.
Like, and the fact that like Adi is on Twitter, like very clearly saying that he wrote this, like he put this in here to appeal to Asmongold, is like just so damning to me. And it's like
it's so weird.
It's extremely weird. It is harmful. It's damaging. It's terrible. Fucking if I had a nickel for every time an Asmongold lookalike showed up in a Devil May Cry show, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot.
2 nickels.
But it's weird that it happened twice. And it's like, oh my gosh.
I think the best part too is that it's the exact same color grading, the exact same setup and everything, just
Yep.
Yeah. All right, anyway. So
on to better
now
things.
we have to get into so I'm glad that you said that, Cosmic, because I cannot tell you. I was shaking in my seat. I felt like a kid on Christmas because we have the iconic Dante and Virgil fight at the
Washington Monument.
At the Washington Monument, everyone's favorite set piece from Devil May Cry. We knew it was going to happen. We were looking forward to it. And god damn it, they delivered. The only thing I do not like about this scene is that Arius and that sniper can't shut up for 2 seconds.
True.
And let me just watch Dante and Virgil beating the crap out of each other. There is unfortunately too much talking.
Yep.
And I know that you mentioned this earlier about some of the lines really not hitting, but I feel like everything that Virgil is saying, I'm like, yep, this is cool. Yep, this is cool. Yep, this is cool. And then we have Dante saying, I know long distance from the demon realm must be pricey, but still. And I'm like, Dante, shut up. I don't know. It's not like, hey, Virgil, I have a gift for you. And he swings the gun. It's like, boom, or something. You could have done something, anything. I don't know.
There is at least one line that he has in there where he says, you learn how to make an entrance. That's new. And that's pretty good.
Yeah.
The only thing that I really don't like because along with the sniper and Arius not talking too much, there is some clunky dialogue in this where Virgil says oh, you wasted this on pizza and chocolate sundaes, and then Dante's like, strawberry sundae, and it's like,
strawberry sundaes.
It's like,
Virgil,
dude, please be quiet, because I think when this scene is dialed into its earnest core where they're confronting each other and Virgil's clearly there to fuck shit up. And Dante's like, I'm just here to stop you. That's just is what it is. When they're dialing into that, I think it's a pretty decent scene. But again, we got the secretary quipping at Lady and being like, oh, your tasted bed sucks, And it's number one, this show never passes the Bechdel test at all, which is, yeah. So if you're not familiar with the Bechdel test, look that up. But it's the dialogue between female characters in this show is just them being catty with each other, and it's always just related to the male characters. That's pretty much it, which is terrible. And yeah, Arius and Soldier just not shutting up.
Yeah, and Virgil again. I can't stress enough that Virgil really steals the entire scene, and Dante's he's like, you're in league with the people who killed Mom, and he's like, who told you that? A man in a bunny costume? Just shit like that. I really, I don't know. It's really good. Or and Dante's like, what did Mundus do to you? And he goes, he set me free.
That one's
and then
pretty
charges
good.
At Dante.
Yeah.
It's you have good moments in here, and then you have, oh, they're moving too fast. I can't take the shot. Shut up. I know they're moving fast. You don't need to tell me. I the only thing that they could have done to show me that they were moving even faster is I'm honestly shocked they did not do this, was recreating the DMC3 scene where they're fighting so fast that they're cutting the raindrops. That's the only thing that I feel like if they had done that, I think I would have been even more pissed if they did that. And then they had the soldier go, they're moving too fast. Oh, I see through my sniper scope, they're cutting the raindrops. It's pretty sick, actually.
They would do something like that too, because it's Netflix.
Yes, exactly. So, and I love, like, the choreography is also, I think this is probably one of my favorite fights in the entire season, if not, well, I'm not going to say the entire show, but in the entire season, I think this is probably the best fight scene that we have, and it just keeps going.
Yeah.
And there's so many cool moments where, like, Dante knocks Virgil's sword out, but then Virgil like beats him up, grabs not the hilt of the sword, but the actual blade and just smacks him with the hilt. It's like, just shit like that is so cool, and I really enjoy it. And then again, we have Virgil saying, "You wasted your life. I trained with Mundus, and you're eating chocolate sundaes." And John Young Bosch is sitting there like, "Strawberry sundaes."
Oh my gosh. Also, after all this, Dante just loses, by the way. Just unceremoniously just kind of loses. Although, actually, no, it's like Virgil like takes the blade of rebellion, right, and just like grabs it and like, I think he like even forces it into himself and is like, "Come on," or whatever.
Yeah. Oh no. You're getting ahead of yourself though.
Okay.
Because now I'm on the strawberry sundae scene where like Dante was saying like he did the stereotype where he's like, for a guy who trained a whole lot, you sure miss. Or you who trained, you still miss a lot. And then Virgil did the thing where he like was cutting parts of the Washington Monument.
Oh yeah.
I gotta say, and like, so first of all, I don't know what your thought is on like Afterlife versus See You in Hell, but I think See You in Hell is way more energetic and works like really well for these fight scenes that they have. But the AMV trailer that they had for See You in Hell with this fight scene, I think is what had me the most excited for the entire season than anything else that they did. Because I was describing this, like I went into the second season just like I was just clocking in at another day in the office, but then when I was watching the AMV and seeing the background and hearing the music, I was like, yeah, no, this is pretty good. Like they're doing a good job of that piece of the marketing. And then yeah, we get to the base and oh yeah, they played Bury the Light again in this scene too.
Man, it's just
would you like to talk about that?
I just don't think it fits. Like they use so many of these songs like Devil Trigger and Bury the Light that just, you're getting ahead of yourself, man. Like, and I mean they even use Shall Never Surrender at the end of this season, and it's like, that's Nero stuff,
Yeah.
man. Like, I think this is also the white woman version of Bury the Light, right? Like
it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like,
okay. So I gotta ask though, I don't know what would be worse. This version of Bury the Light with Power Glove where you have like or like Victor's vocal tracks being put to the, I feel like if Victor like they use the actual Bury the Light song, I think it would be even more of a meme than it already is.
probably, yeah. Probably. I have to agree with that.
But so I know that this scene where like Virgil and Dante are talking about like, their mom, and this is where Virgil's was like, oh, what the hell did he say? Yeah, Dante was like, "Mom always looked after you, and I barely saw her, and she coddled me when she should have let me fall." He does have a really good line in here that I like, even though, DMC Twitter has been saying like this goes against everything that Virgil basically stands for. Yeah, Dante says she was trying to protect us, and Virgil says, "And look where it got her. One of her sons taken captive, while the other one hid and watched her die." I was like,
ooh, that is definitely a stinger. And I feel like for this version of Virgil, that's sort of like a child soldier essentially that's been indoctrinated.
yes,
I feel like that's kind of in line with that. It's definitely just sort of like a gotcha moment. For this Virgil, and like we said, earlier, this Virgil's a little more prone to being emotional. For pretty understandable reasons. He comes to like this idea of power, basically through necessity. It's not like pure lust, almost like it is in the original series. So.
Yeah, exactly. And like this scene especially shows how emotional he gets, because Dante, actually like agrees with him, and he's trying to kind of bring Virgil down now, but he's still all the way up here. Like Dante's really trying to de-escalate, it feels, but Virgil's just straight up yelling at him, and he's like, she tried her best for you, she left me to die. And then we get into, white girl
White girl, bury the
bury
light.
the light. White girl, bury the light. Oh, and yeah, and then Virgil, actually takes Dante's gun and shoots it. Which, if I had a nickel for every time Virgil shot a gun when he really wasn't, when he really shouldn't have,
You'd have a lot of nickels.
I would now have 2 nickels for a different version of Virgil taking a gun and shooting it and seeing it where he really shouldn't have. I'd now have 2 nickels. But I thought it was really cool that, and I kind of going into like other parts later in the season where they start to introduce like more of the magic stuff where, Virgil is channeling the demon magic or whatever you want to call it into the bullet to make it a more powerful shot. Like stuff like that I thought was really cool. It's just very interesting that it happened with Virgil, the character who is normally so against firearms, and at the end of the show tells Dante how to infuse magic into the bullet. It's very odd, but again, like different version of the character. He was sitting there was a plastic chair like 2 episodes ago, so like whatever.
All bets are off at this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, this scene with
Anyway.
Arius here too, where they're in the base, where like Arius and Virgil meet proper. I actually really like this scene. I feel like
I do too.
I feel like Arius like showing up like this is kind of what this character needed to do. This show generally seems to get villains pretty correct. Like the White Rabbit is a highlight of season 1. Mundus has done pretty well in this. I feel like Arius has done pretty well as well. Like pretty good showing. Pretty good showing. Also the Sparta sword dropping from the ceiling, COD airdrop style, and then he's like, I got one of those too. And then just puts the sword up, and it's like, oh shit. He came to fucking play,
I also think too, like, obviously, like you've played a lot of DMC2, way more than I have. But I mean, I've done my fair share of DMC2 playthroughs where I understand what's going on. But like when Arius has like, the purple force magic, I'm sitting there like, could he always do that? Or is this this show thing? And then I really started to think, I'm like, what does Arius do in DMC2 minus just sit there and shoot guns? And I just couldn't really remember what Arius actually did that was magic based in DMC2.
So in DMC2, actually, he can summon demons, so he can like call them forth.
Yes.
And also he has a magic shield that he can put around himself. And what's funny is, side tangent here on mechanics, is that there's an RNG thing with that shield where he can just keep summoning it and keep refreshing the cooldown on it. So he can just like stay in it for a long time. Also, he can teleport and stuff. But he actually does kind of do some magic stuff in the game. It's just not a lot because the game's like finished, but also not. So there's not a lot of like polish on what his moveset is. But it's not unprecedented for him to, I think, use magic, considering the couple of like ways that he engages with like teleportation, summoning demons, having like a magic shield, that sort of stuff. I think it's pretty in line with the character.
Yeah, I just wanted to double check and see, just because I genuinely could not remember what else he did minus just like summoning demons and then sitting in a chair and just shooting his gun.
Yeah, that is the other half of what he does.
But I really like this fight scene with Virgil and Arius. And the episode's over now. Okay, next episode.
Yeah, next episode.
They just start the fight like, episode 4, A Pit of Serpents. We open with teenage Virgil training with Mundus, which I really, really like. Like, all of this stuff that they have with Virgil and Mundus is really good. Like training, like Batman Begins style. which is probably something that they also intentionally
Probably,
took.
maybe,
But,
yeah. I mean, I feel like the training arc's not super original, but yeah.
I think it looks. I mean, I just really like what they did here to kind of show all of this stuff that like we don't really get to see in the games.
Yeah.
Or even like, I mean, even like this, like, you know, in this like alternate take where Virgil actually was trained by Mundus. It's just really cool to watch. On a quick side thing, because I was just thinking about this and I should have mentioned it in, you know, the last episode. One of the things that really bothers me in this season, and I know that it's just more of an animation thing and a budget, and if they did this it would take forever, and I get it, but you know, Yamato has a like such an iconic design with like the Suba and the hilt and everything, but they're like constantly cheapening around the animation by just having it be like just black lines, not even really like properly drawn in like long shots, or even like in some close-ups. I'm like, geez, like that just looks, it's so noticeable. And I get it, because it would take them forever to just have it be consistent throughout the entire season. But every time I see it and it's just like this really lazily like squiggly line, I just can't help but roll my eyes.
Yeah. Also, I guess we forgot to mention that like Mundus is the one that gives Virgil Yamato, which kind of sucks, honestly. I don't think I like that very much. It really there's this like consistent cheapening of Sparta's legacy in this season and like the series overall. That's like, it kind of sucks. You know, I don't really know any other way to put it.
I think Lady put it very well in the first season, but I won't repeat the monologue for, you know, making sure that we don't get demonetized or anything. But speaking of Mundus giving Virgil things, Mundus is like, hey, Virgil, congratulations on your promotion. And for your gift, I bestow upon you this coat that is 5 sizes too big for you, but you'll grow into it someday, as long as you keep working hard. And okay,
it's so weird.
I guess he could just do that.
I guess.
Yo, Virgil, check out these threads. Pretty sick, right?
Yeah. Also, I just remember that we did mention that he like materialized Yamato. I completely forgot that we mentioned that, because you even said like, why does Mundus not use the Yamato to cut time and space himself? So my bad. I completely forgot about that for a moment, but it's okay. I worked today. I'm allowed to have a bad memory for the moment.
That's that.
Anyways, I also
go
like
to,
technically this is the like, how many flashbacks are we at this point? Because this is like 2 or 3 episodes in
Cosmic,
a row.
If I took a shot every time I saw a flashback scene in this show, I would be dead.
That's true.
There's no other way of putting it. I would not be here right now talking with you. And also kind of like going into things that are almost right but not really, when Virgil's like crying and it's a good scene, this bothers me so much, where Mundus goes, devils don't cry, Virgil. Like you couldn't have just wrote never, like devils never cry. Like you couldn't have just wrote that. You couldn't have anyway. Devils don't cry, Virgil. Stop being a wuss. Anyway,
true.
I don't know. It just it's like they couldn't have just.
It could have just put never.
It's like, you know what it's like? It's like you're given like the opportunity to hit a bullseye, and it's a guaranteed bullseye, and then Adi Shankar is like, you know what? I'm gonna make this more interesting. I am going to jump up, spin in the air while blindfolded, while also having like 5 shots of whiskey, and then I'm gonna throw the dart. Oh, it's all the way over here now. Well, devils don't cry.
Truth nuke.
Anyways,
we do get into the Arias versus Virgil fight. We come back to it, I should say, after this flashback. My favorite moment of this is when we zoom in on Arias' revolver charging up and he launches that blast. I was like, oh yeah, he's here to play. Like that's some cool shit. Yeah.
I think just again, this whole fight scene is really cool, and I love those moments too. But I can't be remiss without like just making a small joke
Oh, you're
about
good.
something that was really
Yeah.
silly. But Arius like throws a table at Virgil, and Virgil either rapid slashes or judgment cut ends the table.
Pretty unnecessary. I feel like that's not something
It
Virgil would
was
do.
it was pretty unnecessary. It was a cool visual, but just very odd that, he didn't do that to the plastic chair that Jester put up because that was the funny joke. But
True.
Arius threw a table at Virgil and he's like, nah, I'm going to rapid slash this bitch. Instead of rapid slashing the actual bitch that's in front of you, but I digress.
We also get
But yeah, like the
confirmation in this
action-
fight that like there's a traitor amongst everybody, and it kind of just confirms that like anything about the series that Jester's the traitor, like just kind of makes it obvious, I think. But you were saying something.
Oh yeah. Nah, it wasn't as important as that. But yeah, I mean, and this is kind of why like I would really like to talk to people who don't play the games, don't know
Yeah.
anything about Devil May Cry, and they just watch the show to see if they pick up on those little things.
Mhm.
Because I just feel like we're almost like cursed with knowledge that like
Yeah.
we know that this is going to happen because the writing's on the wall, we've seen it before. It's very obvious that Jester is the one that's going to be like betraying everyone, and like Arkham's alive and whatever, and like I feel like you could almost make an assumption that it is the same person because like they have the same crooked nose and the same eye colors and everything, and like it's just an assumption that I feel like one could make. But if you've only watched the season one time a year ago and then you watch the second season now, I don't know if you'd pick up on that. And again,
Yeah.
like that's why I'm always curious to hear when other people who have only watched the show talk about it, because it's like a whole other perspective that I just don't have.
Yeah.
Because from my understanding, like a lot of people really like this show. And if you look on the other side of Twitter, where it's just the DMC community, like we all hate it. But this other side likes it, and it's super popular because of just the way that they change things, which I think is just really interesting overall.
Yeah. Agreed.
So,
yeah. I mean, it's like people seem to like enjoy it, and then they go and play the games, and they're like, "Oh, no wonder the fans were upset by this thing." But like, if you just stay kind of blissfully ignorant in just Netflix land, it's like, all right, this is fine. Also, Arius, there's flashbacks again. Take another shot. We're doing another flashback to explain something. Arius gets beat up by his dad. I don't actually know if like, because I mean, spoilers. I watched this series. I didn't pay for it. Okay, somebody else paid for it. I did not. But I forgot to turn on the subtitles, I think, during this scene or something. There just weren't any. I don't remember if like there's actual dialogue here for Arius's dad, who's speaking in Spanish, I think, or something like that. Yeah, but I missed these parts of the plot because they just didn't have that subtitle track there on the platform that I watched it on. But is there anything like super necessary there, or is it?
Actually, I can go back and look. So basically, let me see. What does he say? He says you're the problem. Like, because Arius is, I guess, like trying to make a wooden leg for his dad, and his dad is just a drunken asshole.
That makes sense. Yeah, just seems a little unnecessary. That's all.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that too. It seemed a bit unnecessary to have like a backstory motivation for why Arius is a piece of shit. I don't know. Like for the whole like inventing thing, it's kind of weird to have a backstory for that, but I do like how they had it so like they had is that supposed I think it's supposed to be Leonardo da Vinci technically, right? Yes.
I don't remember, honestly. This like whole sort of like period of like the flashbacks and everything, and some of the like flashbacks that they do with Arius are a little hazy for me because they're just not terribly
Yeah.
interesting. So it's like,
Yeah, there was a scene where like it look I swear I think it's like supposed to be Leonardo da Vinci, and he finds a piece of the Arcana, and like each like there's like a reincarnation thing where like Arius is like constantly reincarnated so
yeah,
that way they could like find all the pieces of the Arcana, and I think that that was really interesting, but I didn't need to see drunken dad being an asshole to his son with
yeah,
all of that. Like it just wasn't. It didn't really seem all that necessary, and like I'm not really sure what they were trying to say with it, other than like, oh, Arius had a bad childhood and his dad was a drunken asshole, so you shouldn't be a drunken asshole. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sit in my plastic chair and just not think about this show.
I'm gonna just lean back real quick and just enjoy the scenery of this, I guess. Also, there's like, I
That
think this is the
pretty
point where
much.
like Dante and Lady follow Virgil through, because like Arius starts to escape because Virgil cuts off his arm, and then like they follow Virgil through this portal, and we get another rather unnecessary or rather stupid Lady F bomb. When did he get magic fucking powers? And it's like, I don't know, lady. I feel like you should just be used to this sort of thing at this point. Like somebody cutting through
Yeah.
time and space after your government went to literal hell to invade it. I feel like the time for questioning things is kind of over, and also like just the gratuitous cursing as well. This is
Yeah,
like,
it's
go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, it's more spread out, but it's still really bad when it happens.
Yeah. And then we have the scene where your favorite character kills the president. Um,
Yeah, Tom Remington Jr. kills the president because he has an itchy trigger finger, and he feels bad because he killed the president. And
this was
yeah,
honestly
there's
just kind
nothing
of
really
a,
else that I have to.
yeah, it's just like, it's honestly, this was just kind of a relief for me that the president's dead in this show, because now we can just focus on more interesting characters that aren't like basically parodies, or like caricatures.
Yeah, yeah, and that's kind of why I said I'm not really sure if it's more course correcting or if this was the plan all along to introduce the world in this way. And
Yeah.
then Arius was obviously introduced at the end of season 1, but now they're kind of taking away the political messaging subplots so we can get to the stuff that actually makes this universe in the games more interesting. Which is interesting because I do like seeing the extended lore of Devil May Cry, and frankly that's something that I wish I saw a little bit more in the original series, like just more so on the sake of like, okay, like demons invaded Redgrave City, like how does the world feel about that, like that sort of thing, like, and it
Yeah.
kind of boils into the conversation of like, does the world know that demons exist and they're like a normal natural thing, or is it kind of like Resident Evil where like only like a select few like big top organizations know about these things, and like, to your average Joe it doesn't really seem like anything like that is happening. Like it's not like a normalcy in the real world, or like the government like cover up or whatever. It's also
Yeah.
really hard to cover up a big giant demon tree coming out of the ground. But like those are the kinds of questions that I ask that I would like to see like in Devil May Cry and stuff like this, and not like, oh, here's an allegory about like immigration during the 2000s time period, and it was awful and they were treated horribly, and like it's a good messaging to have, but we're also watching an anime where a clown teleported a plastic chair to a character who has a sword that can cut through dimensions, and it's like, I don't know, like
Yeah.
I get what you're going for, but I'm also glad that like it's just leaving at the end of this season. At least that's kind of what it feels like, because even at the end of the show, they don't really acknowledge the whole demon refugee thing. It's just more focused on Dante and Virgil.
Yeah, I mean, also just not even to mention that like A big problem with the first season is that you're comparing immigrants to demons, which is just also
Yes.
bad, And it's just like,
Hmm.
come on, man. So yeah, it's like a lot of this season does, like you said, seem like they're just sort of folding back a lot of these real world elements and being like, okay, now we're gonna fold in more elements from the canon proper because this is what y'all came to watch. So
Exactly. And I was thinking about this too not too long ago, but it makes me kind of feel like, because DMC Devil May Cry had a little bit of that.
yeah,
And it made me feel like if there was a sequel to that game, would they expand upon that stuff, or would they put it more to the side and we get like a rebooted version of the DMC3 game, like the kind of that sort of thing.
yeah.
Anyways, we don't need to talk about that anymore because Virgil said the word foolishness, Dante, which is a thing that he said in the game that everybody liked and played. So this anime is amazing. I did actually do that. I was like, oh, he said the line.
I was like,
Foolishness,
come on, man.
Dante. Foolishness.
Right, then we get Lady looking into the mirror here. This also kind of feels unnecessary, but it also feels like they spend the entirety of the season trying to get us to like this character as well, or like feel bad for her. So, I mean, like, sure, whatever, I guess.
You also can't forget the Power Glove remix to Afterlife that plays during this song.
True.
Or during this scene.
True.
Which, I would really wish that they would stop doing that because we're now like, I think 0-3 for... No, it's like 0-5 at this point for Power Glove remixes to songs that are actually really good. And I just realized too, like they actually do show the scene again where Lady sees her dad, and it has like like the crooked nose and whatever. So, maybe that's another hint to kind of show like, oh, this may actually be another character that's in this show. But I digress. Dante also picks up a coin, which is going to be very important. At the end of this episode. I also think it's kind of interesting too that like, I like the idea that like Arius is an inventor of things and he was able to make his new armor or whatever, but then it's sprinkled in with this like really gratuitous flashback scene where Arius goes crazy and kills his dad, and like it's just very psychopathic behavior
completely.
And I think now we have 2 JoJo references here, which I don't really need in my Devil May Cry show, but
same.
Anyway, I think this is where they show... No, this isn't where they show Leonardo da Vinci yet. And then they infiltrate the facility where they have the Arcana stuff. And, I did make this joke during my watch along, but all they had to do was the DMC2 strat, which was go over here and then shoot the secretaries. It's all they had to do. And what did they do, Cosmic? They did not do any of that.
They didn't do that. No.
Dante shoots literally everybody but the secretaries. And any other demon that showed up and Dante shot them, it worked. But then when the secretary comes up, he's like, oh, I'm just not going to shoot them. Like, it was working for you, dog. I don't know. And Virgil can't shoot guns, and he forgot that he can pull summon swords out of his ass. And yeah.
I will say
but I also think too, like,
I was gonna say the experiment rejects here, like the demon designs here are kind of cool, where they're like melded with the machinery. It kind of reminds me of the enemies that we see in the factory for Resident Evil Village. Like this whole kind of set piece reminded me of that, and I thought that was pretty neat. But also, it like they have this really cool environment to do a fight scene in, and everybody just kind of stands in place for most of it, or they like weave back and forth on the same bridge, and then Dante and Virgil have this like entire conversation about capture the flag while the demons just kind of stand there like this.
Yes, they're not jumping them. I was going crazy. I'm like, why are they not attacking them right now? This is so stupid. Also, going back to the very beginning of the fight scene where like lady shoots at one of the secretaries and like her head explodes and Dante goes, "Oh, that was an anti-demon bullet," and she's like, "Yeah, it was an anti-demon bullet," and I'm like, "Yes, I did watch the first season of Devil May Cry. Thank you so much for reminding me that this was a thing that lady has." Like, guys, like, I'm not stupid. We're not stupid. We know that's an anti-demon round, but guess what, motherfucker? Dante doesn't have anti-demon rounds in Ebony and Ivory. He doesn't know how to do that yet. So why the fuck is he killing all of these demons with his non-anti-demon rounds? Like, it... Anyway, and also, I am just going to... I'll be an asshole, and I'll say it. Because again, this goes into like the whole like tactical reload thing, right? Where they're like, oh, we have this super sick animation of Dante doing all these cool reload animations and pew pew pew, and then Dante is doing the invincible strat where he's like standing there like this, and standing there like this, and then he's going up like here, and then he's going around this way. I'm like, guys, this is the most boring way that Dante can shoot his guns. Why are you doing this? Did tactical reload not have anything for you to shoot at? Like, I don't know.
They did the same thing with Lady as well. I can't believe that there's a Devil May Cry anime where Lady has jet boots, and I don't like her choreography. Like, she does, she also does this, and it's just like, she just kind of like jumps back, jumps up, stands in place, and does this. When we get to like the second to last episode or the last episode, there's a point where a demon is doing like a roundhouse kickflip to her, and she's just doing this, standing there like shooting at it.
And it makes you think, like, why doesn't everyone at Darkcom have jet boots? Because even in the first season, like, her entire squad gets their asses kicked, and she's like, but I have jet boots and 2 guns, and I'm actually surviving and live, like, anyway. But yeah, no, it's just so interesting that they have these characters who can do all of these cool and stylish things, and Dante just stands there like this shooting his guns, and Virgil is just doing this with his sword, and then Lady does a backflip with her jet boots and then does this again. It's like, I don't know, it's...
They needed to watch something, like, watch Equilibrium, bro. I'm so serious. Just watch Equilibrium once, and you will get so many ideas. Also, Virgil, while they're kind of winning this fight... Or,
and I like this idea too. Watch Devil May Cry 3. It will take you less than 2 hours to watch Devil May Cry 3's cutscenes, and you will see all of the cool ways that Dante and Lady shoot their guns and Virgil uses his sword. Like, that's like, I love the scene where we first see Lady actually like doing shit. Like, it's like gymnastics with it's just really cool looking gymnastics where she's shooting her guns and like moving around in all these like really unique ways, and like not even just using like just 2 pistols, but she has the submachine gun, she's obviously using her rocket launcher. It's like, I don't know, man, it's like you could ring them up, you can ring those guys up and be like, hey, we want some cool choreography for our Devil May Cry Netflix show. Can you make some really cool choreography for us? I'm sure they would do it. I'm sure it wouldn't be too hard. You had to call the fucking guys at Corridor Digital so you could copy tactical reloads, but you couldn't get a hold of the guys who choreographed DMC3 and DMC5. Like, it's just... And I'm saying all of this, and I'm looking... I have my Netflix pause, and there's a scene where Virgil is about to do something, and the Yamato is literally disappearing from his hand. Like the scabbard thing, it's doing the weird line thing, and there's just a blank white section of the Yamato, and it's just, I think that right there is just, it's like the ultimate representation of my thoughts here, of like, you have all of this cool choreography that you can pull from all these people you can talk to, but you talk to 2 YouTubers, and I'm sitting here and lecturing, and the Yamato isn't even finished right now.
True.
God, all right.
Also, they're winning this fight, basically. And then Virgil, for some reason, ejects Dante and Lady from the fight. And he's like, oh, the playtime's over, or whatever. And then he also proceeds to lose. And then he ejects them like onto a random highway, which I don't know how Virgil knew this highway existed. We don't ever see him go to this highway unless he just went like, because I feel like when he cuts the Yamato open, he knows where it's going to end up. You know, that's like kind of just seems to be the general rule by which that weapon operates. So why this highway, bro? But it's
he couldn't have thought of just like, you know, putting them 100 feet in the sky just to be an asshole. Like,
true. Or just putting them outside the base somewhere. I don't know. Like,
yeah. Or something that I was also thinking about too, Cosmic, was why doesn't Virgil go into DT at all during this fight? Like, he's clearly losing, and he never once goes into his Nilo Angelo form, where I'm pretty sure it's established that like that's his like medium devil trigger.
Yeah.
So it almost feels like when it comes to like the devil trigger versus the normal human form, it's almost like there isn't really much of a power difference there, because either way they get their asses kicked.
Yeah. So
is it more like you just go into your demon form, but you're just still as powerful as you were before? Anyways, so now we...
All right, listen. This scene, bro.
Hold on. Okay. All right.
You go first. Go for it.
Okay. So first of all, this was pointed out to me way after the fact, but there is a Twilight reference here.
Oh, yeah? I don't...
Yeah.
Okay.
So when Dante, like, does... Like, when he does this... and he's holding on to Lady here, that is a scene ripped from Twilight.
Oh,
because
shit.
What's her face is about to get hit by a car, and Edward like runs
Bella
in,
Swan.
puts his hand out, and like stops the car. I saw it on Twitter, and I was like, holy shit.
Oh my god.
And I've okay. I've only seen one Twilight movie, and that's not of my own accord. But it wasn't the one that this scene was in. But I'm sure that if I was forced to watch all the Twilight movies, I would have caught it immediately.
Yeah.
And I would have done the same thing with the plastic chair of like, oh, this is Yippee Yahoo Pizza Man. Like, this isn't Devil May Cry. That's right. But yeah, no, that's a Twilight scene.
Interesting. Yeah, so we get like this...
anyways.
We get like this real tender moment between Lady and Dante where there's like some romantic music going on, and then My Immortal by Evanescence plays. Now, I know you're going to cringe, but hear me out, okay? As somebody that was basically like a goth teen in high school, right? It is like every goth teen or boy girl's dream to like kiss their crush or whatever to My Immortal. I feel like tonally this fits a lot. This is like a pretty cool cinematic. I'm like cinema, bro. Like,
yeah. Well, and when the kiss happens and it like the music swells up, but then it's not even that cosmic. It's when the credits pull up and the lyrics still continue. It's like, bam.
Yes.
Absolute cinema.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with you on that. But I have to say this because this is exactly how it's played out in the show. But, you know, they do this thing where Arius now has all of the pieces of, you know, the arcanas and whatever. And like, DMC2, this is the love letter to DMC2 that we didn't know we needed. The coin that Dante took a little bit earlier in the episode, he replaces with that last piece, right?
One of the pieces
which is obviously a really cool callback to DMC2, and I loved it, right? But then after Dante like shows Lady the coin, and he's like, "Yeah, I replaced the coin. Isn't that real cool?" Lady goes, "God, you're so hot," and starts making out with Dante.
Now, I will say that if she weren't like a weirdo phrenologist cop, this would go over a lot better for me. But like, if like they didn't assassinate Lady's character during this series, I'd be like, ah, yes, excellent. But I mean, you just kind of got to acknowledge that like this is a very DMC-ish sort of like early 2000s goth metal hard rock, like, you know, hamming it up sort of scene. AMV type shit. Like I fuck with it, you know.
Oh yeah. No, I completely agree with you 100%. It is really just the fact that it happens right after Dante goes, "Yeah, I swapped the coin.
Yeah, I
Ain't
swapped
that
the
cool?"
coin. Yeah.
And Lady's like, "Kiss me."
It's pretty good.
That's and then and then we get the credits drop. Also, I paused it right at the moment that it said soaring emotional music playing right when Lady kisses Dante.
Yes.
So we have ourselves. I gotta go back because I forgot. Was it Doc that did this or was it someone else who had like the subtitle tracks where it was like cut my life into pieces, this is my last resort, I am the storm, bury the light starts playing, like those types of subtitle moments.
I think Danny also did one too.
There's a good amount of those. That was one of them. Soaring emotional music playing while Dante and Lady are
pretty good.
making out. So we're on episode 5, the Garden of Deadly Sins, and our first deadly sin that we have in this episode is Dante's outfit, which is a direct reference to DMC Devil May Cry. And I think that this is hilarious. And people are probably taking it way too seriously because it is just a funny little nod to the reboot series.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I keep seeing people referencing this as looking more like Nero than Dante, probably more just because of like the hairstyle.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no, this is clearly reboot Dante. Or I get the people that are like, actually no, this is Dante's EX color from DMC4, and I'm like, all right, you know what, smartass. But I will say, like, I really like Dante's hair as it is here because it's just his season 1 appearance but longer, and I really like that. But I think if they were going to pull the whole, like, you know, I think it would have been really funny personally if the hair was still white but it was in the style of the reboot.
That'd have been kind of
because
funny.
that would have pissed everybody off and I would have laughed. But anyway, we also have Keith David in this.
Keith David.
As so what I like about this is that this kind of introduces more of the the
mystical
DMC magic stuff, and the mystical stuff. But I also love how they have to have this long scene about magic in the Devil May Cry universe that lasts for about 5 minutes, just so Dante can go, "Oh, I know a guy who does magic things," and then they go to this guy that we just saw.
Yeah.
The pacing of it is a bit weird because of that. Because we start with the episode where Dante and Enzo take this job from Keith David and he does magic stuff. And we're like, oh yeah, magic's in this universe, which to us is like, yeah, no shit. But to people who don't know, Devil May Cry has magic elements to it. And it's not even really all that well explained. It's just like, oh yeah, Dante can do magic things like infinite bullets and, you know, all this cool, crazy stuff. But they have to, have it in some way.
Yeah.
I'm also just kind of realizing too that like we're kind of going through these scenes, but like we're not really paying much attention to what the characters are saying because it is still a lot of like exposition dumping. Like I'm on this scene right now and Lady's like, we have to keep the Arcana as far away from Arius as possible. And then Dante's like, the guy can make portals to anywhere. Far away isn't good enough. And there's this professor that I did a job for once and maybe he can destroy it. It's like, and like we just saw that there was this guy who could do magic 2 minutes ago. So he could say like, oh, I know a guy. Then just like,
just fuck off.
Yeah. But he's like, there's this professor that I did this job for. He's got crazy powers. I saw him mind control a monkey in the jungle that grows inside his mansion. Do you remember that, audience? This was about 2 minutes ago. I don't know if you remember this thing that happened 2 minutes ago. But anyways, we should probably go over there. And
And do
do this
stuff.
stuff because he can make this coin disappear. You guys remember this coin that we want to make disappear? He can do that because he mind controlled a monkey and made this tree grow. Then we also have our next Resident Evil reference because we have the truck driver who is a truck driver. I'm just saying it's a Resident Evil reference
Oh, because the
because
beginning of RE2
let's
remake. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
And then Dante and Lady are riding a motorcycle, and Lady's like, "Oh my God, Dante's so cool when he's riding a motorcycle. I'm gonna rest my head on his back." And My Immortal starts playing again, and we already made this joke, so we'll just move on.
Then they get here and like there's some exposition where like Lucan actually seems pretty cool as a character. I kind of like generally what they did with this guy, even though he is just sort of a plot device, unfortunately. But like Lady gets attacked by his tiger, and then he says something kind of funny where he's like, "We don't usually have lady visitors, or whatever." And she's like, "Well, maybe that's because there's a fucking tiger in your mansion." And it's like, relax, okay? Like, I get it, but and then they go through this whole explanation of how long it's going to take to to destroy the Arcana. This series has this really weird thing where it
8 hours.
8 hours. It just has this really weird thing where it wants to explain magic so much. And in the beginning of season 1, we saw it do the whole midichlorians plot problem, basically, where everything magical can be explained through science. They're less egregious about it here because they don't even explain, not in detail or not from a scientific point of view, the spell that Lucan uses to disguise the location of the coin to Arius.
Yeah, he just kind of does it.
Yeah, he's just like, "What are you doing, Dante?" And then just we see him put out his hand, and then all the offshoots of the coin happen, and then we see Arius grr. Oh, I can't find it.
He's like, listen, Dante, I'm Keith David, and they paid me a lot of money to be on this show. Just let me do my thing, and you and Lady get to have fun with my granddaughter, who is totally not the Patty Lowell replacement.
This is I kind of think that this scene is a little cute, at least, where Skater Boy plays. Because because Lucan goes to, destroy the coin, and Dante and Lady are like,
yeah.
"Oh, this is okay. What do we do now?"
He has to clock in for an entire work-day to destroy this little coin. Yeah.
And then, or an entire first playthrough of DMC5. And he's and they're like, "Okay, so what do we do?" So there's this cute scene of them playing dress up and tea party or whatever with his granddaughter.
And karaoke.
Yeah. And it's cute, but also I really do think that there was an opportunity here to just sort of flash forward to the scene where they're talking together and just having an earnest conversation, or the really heated the heady sensual conversation that kind of happens later. But
yes,
and I'm I think we could have kind of skipped over some of this romantic stuff or this comedy stuff, but also not a lot happens technically in this episode. So
no, not really.
Yeah.
Well, and I was thinking about this too because I feel like we've talked about this at some point before, but you had the Dante dance in the first season, right?
Yeah.
But that was debatably one of the most popular things about the first season because it became a trend on TikTok, and it was mainly TikTok and Instagram. People were doing the Dante dance and in just various ways, and the Dante costume, the lady costume, whatever. But that's kind of the thing that it's the kind of marketing thing that gets people to watch the show. And I don't know if you're on TikTok. I'm on TikTok because I have to be. So I naturally have an algorithm that's DMC related and superhero related and whatever. But a lot of the stuff that I see, I think that's kind of why I have a more neutral, and I'm able to, split the two sort of fan bases apart from each other, because everybody's looking at this scene and they're like, oh my gosh, Dante would be such a girl dad, and like, you know, him and Lady are so cute together, and like this is like, you know, this is what it would be like if they were parents, like, you know, it's like that sort of thing that people who, again, they don't play the games, they haven't seen the playthroughs or anything, like they just know DMC from this, like that's kind of like the target demographic is people like that, where they see those scenes and they're like, oh my gosh, Dante and Lady, they're so cute, I want to rewatch that episode because like it was so cute. And like that's where the Skater Boy montage like comes in. And I remember seeing the soundtrack and I was like, God, I really need to know where Skater Boy is being placed in here, because it's going to make or break this entire show.
For real.
It was yes, but I mean, I like the scene as it is. Again, from that mindset, I understand it. And really, it's kind of like moments like this where I have to sit back and remember, like, I'm not really the target demographic for this show. Like, this is just how it's going to be. We're going to have moments like this. We're going to have like the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure moments. You know, Dante is dressed up as Chun-Li because it's funny to see Dante dressed up as Chun-Li. But through all of this, we get to see Lady in her prototype uniform, which is really nice. But additionally, I'm actually also thinking, how does this small child have all of these costumes that are Dante and Lady sized? But again, that's not important, because that's me being a nitpicky asshole, and I have to remember plastic chair, not supposed to take this seriously. But it is a cool callback. But it made me think of this during the actual fight scene. I was like, man, it'd be so great if Lady had some jet boots right now, because it took away like half of what makes her a competent character in this show.
Yep.
And yeah, and then they have this like romantic moment where like
it's a little,
you know,
it's a little wooden as well. They just kind of like, it's them explaining their emotions to the audience, like under the guise of them explaining it to each other. And I feel like at this point, it's obvious to us that Dante like hides his pain, you know, and it's quite obvious that Lady channels her pain, but they again, you know, feel the need to extend the olive branch through the screen to us and say, no, this is what I do. Please understand me. And it's like, no, we do. We get it. Like, these are not terribly deep characters. Yeah. And then also they fuck after. So I'm sorry to all the incels that can't relate to Dante anymore.
Okay. Wait. Okay. So is that confirmed, or is that speculation?
I think it's pretty obvious that they be fucking afterwards when they start making out. Because Dante wakes up in bed and it's like, I think they be fucking, bro. Pretty sure.
Oh yeah, and he doesn't have his shirt on. I did remember seeing that. Yep. But Lady's not in there with. Okay, doesn't plastic chair. All right,
they're fucking.
So okay, there. So actually, so I do remember, and this is the reason why I was asking that, because I remember seeing something about like, if this is how they introduce Nero in the show, like. Anyway,
I mean, might not be out of the realm of possibility, honestly. Unfortunately.
No, it's not. So anyway, we're gonna
move on from that there. One to the fight scene here, where Dante and Lady lose again, amidst some like, also again, I think you'd agree, pretty wooden choreography, pretty stilted choreography. A lot of
100%
moving back and forth down hallways again. Dante doesn't even really leave the ground except for when he goes into Devil Trigger. This is his second time going Devil Trigger this season, and it amounts basically to nothing. Also, the reason that they lose this fight is because he loses control of himself.
Yes.
This is like, again, a point where like I say the dialogue is overwritten, because when he's like insulting, like hurling insults at the secretaries, he says, I'll feel your heartbeat in my chest, or I'll feel your heartbeat in my hand and rip it from your chest. And I just feel like that's just too wordy for the emotional state that he's in. And it also just
Yeah,
doesn't hit very
100%.
hard. It just doesn't hit very hard. Like it's just not threatening, you know.
Yeah. Um, and again, I'd also like to reinforce the fact that like Dante could do a lot more with his two guns than he would his sword, especially because Lady is pretty damn effective with just her two guns apparently, and she's nerfed with the jet boost. But like I don't know, it's like it's interesting because the '07 anime had Dante using his guns too much, but
Yeah.
when he used them, it did look pretty cool.
Yeah.
Here, they have him using his sword too much, which does look decent at times, but the guns just look way better. So I don't really understand why they made such a big deal about saying, oh, Dante's going to get Ebony and Ivory this season. Isn't that cool? And then he just uses them like
Couple of
really for
times.
one or two fight scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, and like Dante channeling his devil trigger, and I was thinking about this. I in general, I haven't really noticed the like CGI fight scenes only until Dante and or Virgil go into their devil triggers. Like
Yeah.
everyone else looks really good, but it's when they go into their devil triggers that's when it's really noticeable.
Definitely.
But yeah, I again like
By the way, this scene is
They-
half
they
the
just-
episode, y'all. This is literally half the episode is one fight scene.
yeah,
Like
from the 17-minute mark all the way up until the end, it's just one big fight scene, and it's just really nothing but like surface level choreography, and then like Cosmic said, like Dante having really really wordy dialogue. But Lady gets her iconic nose scar, so it's all okay.
Surf Dracula once again.
And Arius comes in and kills Keith David in the same episode that he
Bro.
was introduced in.
Oh,
Ugh.
I was a little devastated because I did like that character, like Lucan. You know,
I did too.
yeah, he was cool. But I also feel like they
There-
put this granddaughter here just to get traumatized by Arius. You know,
Yep.
and it's just like,
I did
come
kind of
on,
like
man.
I did also like the small like symbolism of, you know, their house is on fire, demons are invading, but Dante is actually like saving the small child from
Yeah.
experiencing what he experienced.
Mhm.
And then he failed anyway, and
Fails anyway.
her grandfather died, and just, you know, it's so frustrating that Dante is shown to do all of these like cool and extravagant things. It's like, oh yeah, Dante's so cool, and he has a sword and guns, but then he loses literally every single fight
Yep.
in this show, and it's like, why? Like now it's starting to bother me because he is actually losing every single fight
Yes.
that he's in.
Yep. I will say the end of this
So-
scene where Arius goes, "You can't even hold yourself together," and then Lucan gets cut in half. Such a good evil line. Arius, man, like this
It
whole
is.
season, just killing it. Honestly,
No, Arius is great.
yeah. He's certainly not the king of this world, you know, or whatever, but he definitely a highlight of the show, similar to the White Rabbit in the first season. But what a bummer of an episode.
Do you feel like
honestly.
now it's
Go ahead.
yeah? Do you feel like Adi Shankar's personal mission now is to go, I'm going to take everything that the DMC fans don't like and make it likable? next season, what else do we not like?
Well, I would have said the Fallen
What else is,
in DMC3 because nobody likes fighting those enemies. But he already had Lady kill one of them in a flashback sequence in the next episode.
in another flashback sequence?
Yeah.
I did mention this too. They could have done something with the Fallen that references their abilities in DMC3, where instead of bursting through the wall, you see them just go through the
Yeah.
wall.
Mm-hmm.
But no, he just bursts through the wall and it's the Fallen.
So weird.
And you also, he has a shield against firearms until you smack him a bit. So like, but then Lady is just shooting him with guns, and he dies. Also, when Baines shows up and he has an American tie flag, or no, an American flag tie, I was like, okay, that's a little even more on the nose than it already is. But
Yeah, because it's already
you know,
pretty on the nose in his normal costume. But even
yeah,
more
exactly.
So now.
And then actually, this may be a good time to bring this up. But throughout the show, or throughout this season, Lady gets a new theme, which is Bazooka from Casey Edwards, and I don't know who the person is who's singing the lyrics, and I feel terrible because they do such an awesome job. I'm gonna look this up just so I don't.
It's probably Allie. I have to assume, but
no, it's not.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, it's not Allie. Although that's why I want to double check to make sure that I actually get her name. Amira Elfkey? Yeah, Amira Elfkey.
Okay.
Yeah, she did good. It's a really good song, and I like it. I've been listening to it on my Spotify, and it's pretty good. But I think it's interesting that Lady now has two. Well, I mean, Afterlife, what is her theme? But it's more like her and the White Rabbit's theme, whereas this is just more her theme.
Yeah. So, I mean, I like it. It's pretty decent, but I also, until this moment, I had forgotten that she even got the new theme. So it clearly just like, I mean, it's just a personal thing, probably, that it didn't stick with me, but like, it's decent. I mean, it's Casey Edwards doing his thing.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I think I notice it more because I just listened to it over the past like week, because and like I've been listening to the whole season 2 soundtrack just to kind of like get a feeling on like just the music in general, like songs I like, songs I didn't like. So I've just been playing Bazooka. So I think it's really nice. It's no Devil Trigger or Bury the Light, but it's up there. And additionally, I guess Casey had written this theme for Lady in Peak of Combat.
Oh, okay.
But they decided not to
pursue that.
They decided not to go forward with it, and they did Fire Inside instead.
Okay.
So I guess he's been sitting on this for this entire time, and now he had an excuse to actually use it, which is pretty cool. So, you know, if there's one thing that, you know, I will give this show praise for, is that they know to bring like Papa Roach, Evanescence, Casey in for kick-ass music.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
You know, I'm really glad about that, at least.
Definitely. I think that their choice of licensed music, like the artists themselves, is pretty good. Like getting them to write new music for the show, or I guess in the case of Casey going, oh, you have a song that we could use. We'll just we'll pay you for that real quick. This is exactly. Also this episode 6 here. I feel like also not a lot happens in this episode, despite it being as long as most of the other episodes, because there's like flashbacks of Lady and Baines. There's Dante being lectured by Arius, which is another vehicle for flashback and exposition of Arius' motivations. This is, I think, where the scenes you were talking about with Arius being shown as being reincarnated comes in. They do big long flashbacks of Moon just being overthrowing Argosax, and then also Virgil just like beating people up in the Trismagia dimension. As well.
Yeah.
Which, like, I did make a note here that I felt like the animation quality in the Trismagia dimension, where Virgil's having this hand-to-hand combat fight, is a bit of a downgrade from the other scenes.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is.
Like, the colors just seem flatter.
I completely agree.
And the characters look less detailed.
Yeah, I noticed that too. So I'm not sure if that's like part of the dimension or not, but it is very noticeable.
Yeah.
It's almost like kind of like the shadows don't really like Yeah, there aren't really that many shadows in this. It's overall like the lighting of it is really really flat in comparison to everything else that we had so far.
Definitely.
And I feel like there's like another. I gotta listen to this again. Oh yeah, no, this is original music, but I also feel like it doesn't really fit the scene that they're going for. Also, literally transition, like just watching it in real time, going from Virgil's scene where there's literally no lighting and shadows whatsoever to Dante and Arias, the shadows are filled. So that's totally what it is.
Oh, okay. So maybe just the it doesn't look good, but I guess it is just the dimension then. We also have this interesting like fake out Arias and Dante battle where like Arias rips Dante's head off and then it just like flashes back to Dante sitting in the chair. And it's like Arias trying to show Dante like, oh yeah, I would overpower you. And it's like, well, you already did. Like, I mean, Dante's already lost every fight this season. Do we need to see him lose another, even in theory? And then he starts to use Dante as like a blood donor for Argisax because he's got him hooked up to the tubes and everything. Virgil faces off against Trismagia. I actually think the scene between Lady and VP Baines is like pretty decent. I think this is also one of the better scenes for Ian James Corlett's performance, where he does like a better impersonation of Kevin Conroy. His voice goes into like the lower register a little bit more. But like he has this moment of clarity about like, oh, I think I am actually being played, but it just kind of proves to be too late. Arias is already like got everything set in motion at this point.
And then he goes up to confront him, and
Yep.
And I'm just looking through the episode again, and it totally is just like that one section in the dimension, like where Virgil's having the fight scenes. That's the only time that the lighting is as flat as it is, because when he gets out of there, that's when the lighting gets better. So it's literally just this one scene where it happens.
Weird.
Also, skimming through this again, and you know, like Arias talks about like Argosax and everything. I love how we see, you know, Mundus, but it's not big giant statue of Mundus. It's, you know, full size scale, like just regular human sized Mundus, but he's still just a statue. Like,
that's so weird to me. That looked so weird.
And I think I get it, because like you can't really show that it's like Mundus without the statue. But also, like, they showed the bird with the three eyes, kind of showing that, like, this is Mundus watching them, because that's literally, like, what Mundus does, right? So, it's just very interesting that they had just Mundus as, like, when he's a servant, or when he's an assistant or whatever, he's just a normal-sized statue, but then when he becomes ruler of the underworld, he's like, I need to be, like, 100 feet tall. This is the statue that I must be given because it shows my ego or whatever the hell. But I think also talking about Lady and then VP Baines, when VP Baines leaves, we also have to talk about my boy Tom Remington Jr.
Oh my god.
Deciding that, like, I think that you're actually right, Lady, and I'm going to do the right thing and let you go before I decide to leave. So my boy Tom Remington Jr. pulling out his one and only W in the entire show.
What a guy.
What a guy. But yeah, I really liked the fight with Virgil and how do you pronounce it again?
Trismagia.
Yeah, Trismagia.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty
I played
decent.
DMC too, I promise. Yeah. I thought it was pretty good to see, like, and it's funny too because I saw this thing and I'm like, this piece of shit is in the show. And then as Virgil's fighting him, I'm like, no, Virgil, you can't use the sword. He's too far away. Throw the summon swords. Just do nothing but throw summon swords at him. You have to find the one that actually damages him, Virgil. That's how you're supposed to fight this boss. I was screaming at my television and Virgil couldn't hear me because he still has the sword and he's like,
what do I do?
I don't know what to do. No. Wait. I'm like, Virgil, you have swords. Just start
do it, man. Just do it.
Virgil would not survive DMC2 because he doesn't use guns. But yeah, like skimming through the episode, you're right. Literally nothing
happens. Like
not a ton happens.
Dante actually goes Devil Trigger again, blocks one projectile from the Sparta sword, and then falls unconscious to save Lady.
I'm there right now.
And then Freak on a Leash starts playing. Now, once again, I feel like not a great choice for what's going on here.
Absolutely not.
I feel like Waking the Demon by Bullet for My Valentine, probably a pretty good choice if you're going to go with some metal or something. Freak on Elise is just not it, man. It's just like a total, you were talking about with how the choreography didn't match up with bodies. The pacing of Freak on Elise just does not match what is going on here. It's like, it just sucks, man. There's just no real other way for me to say it. I just don't like this use of Freak on a Leash. Nor do I really like
I agree with you there.
I don't like the Despair Embodied redesign either. Because it's just now Despair Embodied is just Arius as Argosax, or it's the non-powered up version of Argosax. Just kind of looks a little weird. Takes away from some of the mythical or mystical qualities of Despair Embodied as well.
Yeah, exactly. But it was nice to just point at the screen and go, I played DMC2, so I know exactly what this is. But the 10% of people that don't skip DMC2 apparently. But yeah. And then we go into the next episode and he's still in that form basically up until I think he gets he actually catches Dante, I think, and then he goes into full Argosax. But we go into episode 7, into the City of Woe, and this is when Virgil actually fights the Trismegia, and this is when we get the payoff of the entire thing with Virgil, where he's like, yo, I show you the truth and only the truth and nothing but the truth, so help me, Arius. And he's like, Mundus actually tricked you, Virgil. And I'm like, and I was like, and Virgil just believed that?
Yeah, Virgil just
this entire time, Arius is like, Virgil, you silly Billy, Mundus actually tricked you. And Virgil's like, no. And then the secretary is like, Virgil, Mundus actually tricked you. And he's like, no. And Dante is like, Virgil, Mundus actually is tricking you. And he's like, no. But then he sees this weird 3-headed asshole. And he's like, I only tell the truth and nothing but the truth. And Mundus tricked you. And he's like, holy shit, you're right. Okay, sure. Why not? Plastic chair. Anyway, and honestly, Virgil kind of freaking out during this boss fight is exactly how I freaked out when I fight this thing, especially on the harder difficulties, so it's fairly appropriate. But yeah, it's also kind of, and this is just my thing, it's like, how does the 3-headed monstrosity just know all of this? Is it really just it does know everything and all? But I'm like, is this Arius sent Virgil to this little pocket dimension that has this thing? So clearly Arius is buddy with this being. So Virgil just believes that Mundus, yeah, tricked me this whole time, and like I don't know. I'm and then this is where I'm like thinking too much into it. But even when I was watching it, I was like, yeah, why does he just buy this like immediately
Yeah.
after he like sees this flashback and everything? Um, like it's good stuff, don't get me wrong, but it's like it's kind of whack that this is the thing that it was building towards, like Virgil finding out that Mundus actually was the one who sent the demons and then brainwashed him and, you know, tricked him. I just feel like it could have been done better.
It comes from a character that has
but
it has no emotional weight attached to it. You know, like imagine
yeah, exactly.
imagine if Luke Skywalker found out that Darth Vader was his father from like a random TIE fighter pilot. You know, like it doesn't come from any sort of like weighted place. It doesn't come from any place of revelation. It's just like a matter of convenience that, well, we got to wrap the season up now. So I guess Virgil's just going to learn this. Arius is like, go there and learn the truth, by the way. If you don't believe me, just go there because I'm going to conveniently send you to a dimension where there's a demon that just knows everything and just only shows you the truth. So it's like, it's just very convenient.
And even beyond that, at the end of the season, they go into Makai anyway, where Argo-Sax and Mundus has their big battle, and they go there with the intention of knowing that Mundus could probably beat this thing. So that would have been a perfect moment at the end of the season for like Argo-Sax to be like, I don't know, being choked out by Mundus, and he's like, Virgil, you don't know the truth. Mundus, blah 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 blah, and Virgil's like, is that true? And Mundus goes, well, I'm going to say that it's not the truth, Virgil. And he's like, holy shit, you were all correct. Like, it could have been...
Yeah, that would actually have been a real
That's probably where it should have happened.
Yeah. That would have been really good, actually. I think you're kind of spitting,
and,
to be honest.
Yeah, and...
At this point, we just like...
I think...
we like pan back to Argo-Sax just wreaking havoc on the city. Also, Dante rides a rocket, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. See, I was really hoping that this is where Skater Boy was going to get played. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, that
because I just think that would have been funny for the memes.
True.
And let's see. Kai in the Darkholm uniform just also looks very weird. I also just realized too that Lady had Kalina Ann in the first season, or Kalina.
Ka, yeah, Kalina.
Was it actually Kalina Ann, or was
Kalina
it just
Ann.
Yeah. Okay, I wasn't sure if I couldn't remember if it was Kalina Ann or if it was just a random rocket, but she doesn't have it here, so it's just a random rocket launcher that Dante gets and starts surfing on the rocket. And like you said, it is really cool. But then, is this where Dante makes that really bad joke where he was like, I can't tell which one of you is the
hand and which one is the asshole?
No, yeah, or maybe that was a bit later.
So no, he says like,
I just really don't like
he lands like in front of the civilians that are there, and he goes, anytime you want to run.
Yeah.
And like he tells them to leave, which I think is like a pretty decent line. And then he says, this is the worst ventriloquist act I've ever seen. I can't tell which one of you is the hand and which is the asshole. Which is like kind of good, also kind of not, because it's like who's controlling who type of deal. But
yeah,
you know,
I've also heard a lot of people say that sounds more like a Nero line.
True,
and it really doesn't help that it's Johnny Young Bosch that's saying it.
Mm-hmm. But
so,
also like then he goes to like muse on what he could call Argo-Sax now, which is where I think the overwriting comes in, because he's like, what do I call you? Argo-Sax is meh. That's literally the line, by the way. He says, Argo-Sax is meh.
Argo-Sax is meh.
And then he's like, goes on and says like, oh, you're the original devil, so do I call you Lucifer or Lucy or Satan? And he's like going over all this stuff, and I'm like, this just feels so forced. The joke just falls completely flat.
Oh, you know what else feels forced? Just because now I'm on here. So Dante's doing all of this, right? He pulls out Ebony and Ivory for the probably third time in the entire show. And I'm starting to really get sick of this. But when Dante shoots the bullet and then it follows the bullet to where it's going, I'm just like, I don't really like it anymore. It was cool the first time where it had jackpot written on the bullet, but he doesn't do that anymore. So now it just feels unnecessary. And it's like, I think I even said this in my watch along, but it's kind of like how, in any media that has Superman or like a Superman character, there's typically that Zack Snyder camera shot where you have Superman like flying and then punching the guy and then he goes over this side and then punching the guy again. Like that's now like, the Superman version of the Akira motorcycle slide shot.
Yeah.
Right. But this I feel like is just being way too overused in its own show. And I would really prefer that they stop doing that. Or save it for the more important moments where, like, you have the big jackpot moment at the end. Which, again, in the first season, it felt very appropriate to use because Dante said jackpot. Jackpot was written on the bullet, and he used it to kill the last demon in the first episode. But now they're just overusing it, and I'm really starting to not like it because it's just being too forced now.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Especially in instances where it's just straight up not working.
Nope.
Speaking of not working, Dante gets his ass kicked again.
Yep. Also, Lady says to one of the secretaries, "There was a dozen of yous before," which very East Coast, very Philadelphia of her to say a dozen of yous. So it's just it's just like another weird catty scene between the women characters in the show, and I'm like, can we get something else from these characters, please? Like. They're way too cool for all this.
And then,
go ahead.
And then we get a Captain Commando reference because there's our Capcom reference that we have to shoe in there. This one guy looks different from all of the other Darkcom agents, and it's because he's actually Captain Commando.
Oh shit! I think I missed him. To be honest, I think I was like too busy rolling my eyes during parts of this scene that I just missed him.
Or you were folding your laundry.
True. I could have very well been folding my laundry because I think I did laundry on one of the days that this came out. Maybe I did like a load or something.
Yeah, it's so it's in episode 7. Yeah, it's like right in the middle where Lady is talking to the secretary and they're being catty and all of the Darkcom agents show up.
Oh yeah.
He is literally the only one who does not look like the rest of the agents. And he's also, I think, the only one that speaks out of all of them in the entire scene. So it's very clearly meant to be Captain Commando. And then, right before Captain Commando is about to kill Lady, who shows up but my boy Tom Remington Jr. to save the day?
That guy, dude.
And then... And then we get a quick scene where Bazooka plays for about 5 seconds and Lady is doing lady things by beating up a bunch of men, which fuck yeah.
Fair enough.
And then we go back to more Dante getting beat up by the big bad shenanigans. Oh, yeah, and then they do the thing where yeah, there's they're a game early, but yeah, Dante is getting, his soul sucked by Argosax, and Virgil uses the Amato and gets Dante free. And he doesn't say the cool line. He says, and I quote, "I can't allow you to kill my brother," instead of anything else that would have sounded remotely cool.
True.
What else does he do here? I think he just teleports to Dante and
they teleport on top of a what's it called? On top of a roof, and then Virgil berates him about something, and Dante's like, "You want to do this now, dude?" And it's like,
oh yeah, he's like, "You guys had," he's like, "All you had to do was run and hide."
And Dante's like, "I thought we could destroy it." I think that Virgil does show up and say, Mundus's debts will be repaid, but yours are quicker to settle to Argosax.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty cool. Virgil ends up showing Dante how to access Devil Trigger more easily, which I still can't get over how this show just straight up calls it Devil Trigger in universe.
Yeah.
And like, I also don't like Virgil's DT design in this because it's basically just Dante's with like the horns inverted or something, like flipped out.
With the horns inverted. Yeah.
Which I just think is a huge misfire because
Yeah.
their forms have always looked very different. So, like,
Yeah. Well, and I think it's also like, again, this isn't me playing like devil's advocate necessarily because I agree with you, but the logic path is, well, they're twins in human form, so they should also be twins in demon form.
yeah, I can
And
see that.
that's the logic path that I see.
Yeah.
But I also agree that I think that the designs could be much better in general, and we have gotten better designs in literally every other instance that we've seen these two.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, yeah, like I'd like to see better designs, please. But also, I couldn't help but feel a little called out during this scene, and I hope that every other Devil May Cry criticizer did when we're like, oh my god, Nilo Angelo is Virgil's Devil Trigger? That's so stupid.
Yeah.
And Virgil just goes, you think this is my Devil Trigger? This is merely a half measure. And I'm sitting there like, oh, I did think that was your Devil Trigger, because this is how the logic of this world kind of works. I'm sorry, Virgil. And then he transforms and it's a mid design.
Yeah,
So,
it's hella mid.
but I couldn't help but feel a little called out because I was among the people that were like, yeah, Nilo Angelo as his Devil Trigger is really stupid because we already have like the Angelos in the universe. So why is this just his Devil Trigger? And I'm like, oh,
Well.
I'm sorry, Virgil. I didn't mean for that to happen. I also don't really like the design of the Yamato for Devil
Yeah.
Trigger either. It's just like it just doesn't really feel like I don't know, but also like in the games though, the Yamato stays the same. It's just the sheath that changes.
Yeah, the sheath actually
and
goes
then he
onto
doesn't
his
even
arm.
have the sheath anymore.
Yeah, sheath goes onto his
Yeah,
arm.
and it's a cool design. I've always liked it. So like, I don't know why they just I don't know.
I just think it's a huge misfire because like even when you go back to like DMC3, like the way that Kaneko designed those Devil Triggers was like very much in line with like the different characters and to like reflect their outfits as well as like, you know, like Dante kind of has like tier lines on his Devil Trigger form in DMC3 to, you know, reflect the title of the series. And those designs moving forward in DMC4 and DMC5 have followed the fundamentals that Kaneko made in DMC3. So it's like we could have gotten something more in line with that, and I think it would have just been more true to the character. You know?
Yeah, I agree. And to add on to that too, I always loved how in DMC3 the design of the Devil Trigger always changed depending on which weapon you had equipped.
Yep.
Which none of the other games did after that, but it's like a nice cool thing that the devil arm you have affects your appearance because it's kind of like infusing you or whatever.
Yeah.
But kind of on that same subject, we're 2 seasons in and we don't really have any devil arms or anything. Like, you know, Beowulf gets defeated at some point. He doesn't spawn gauntlets. So like I'm really hoping that in the next season or whatever, like they really start to introduce that, because it's already kind of boring watching Dante just use his sword, and now Virgil just using his sword, and Dante just using his guns, but also not really using his guns. Like, I feel like we need a bit more variety in the combat now, because it's starting to get really stale.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's only so many times that you can swing a sword or shoot a gun and look cool, and they're still not even really doing it.
Yeah.
So,
which, I mean, speaking of, this is where we get like more of that bad lady choreography that I was talking about earlier, where she's just like standing around firing her pistols and then doing a basic dodge, and then the secretary is like doing all this cool assassin shit, and lady's just like, all right, here I am, you know. And then we cut over to Dante accessing his Devil Trigger. Again, pretty good scene between him and his mom, where when he goes into Devil Trigger, followed immediately by like one of the most corny and unearned lines in the entire show, where like, he saves Virgil or whatever.
We
Go for it. Yeah. Or what does he say?
It's like, we are the sons of Eva.
Which is so dumb because Virgil doesn't even agree, bro. Virgil, like, the way he teaches Dante to tap into the devil trigger is based on their dad. Dante just happens to access his mom, like, as a memory because he is more attached to his mom. But, like, Virgil's talking about wrath when he goes into his devil trigger form. It says, access, it's like, use the wrath that is our legacy. You hide your pain. And so, like, Virgil doesn't even agree with this. And then it follows up with Dante shooting a jukebox that's randomly and conveniently placed out of view and going, and we work better with music. And then it's just the Dante shop theme from DMC3. And I'm like, bro, what the hell are we doing right now?
That shit pissed me off.
Bro, I was like, what the fuck are we doing?
I just
Go
say,
for it. Yeah.
That shit, oh my, that, I was infuriated the entire time that scene was playing. First, okay, I'm throwing this, first of all, it does not fit the fight at all.
No.
It doesn't. It doesn't. It's just loud garage band rock that's already in itself like kind of, it's very situational. It's not great, right? I love it for what it is, but it's like it is at the end of the day just noise.
Mm-hmm.
Additionally, that scene with that music is so iconic that it is really hard to not think about that iconic scene when you hear this song. Yeah. And it just doesn't fit. It that's really what it boils down to as well. It just doesn't sound good when Dante and Virgil are getting their asses kicked because they're not even winning.
Nope.
And you just have, and you're like, it's almost like overstimulation because Dante's yelling and Virgil's yelling and, they're talking while they're fighting and you just hear, and it's like, dude, okay, like I need a break. It's like, and then Lady and the secretary are flying in the sky and the music's still playing and it's like, and I gotta throw this out there too. When they were showing the soundtrack list and they had the Dante Office theme, they didn't even credit the artist who wrote it. They just said it was from Capcom.
Oh, that's so stupid.
Like that. And I remember seeing that and I was like, huh. I wonder, because they've been recreating a lot of these like scenes and fight scenes and moments. I wonder if at the end of this, Dante is gonna like get his own shop and whatever, and then we have like an end credits or like right before the end credits, like Dante has like a fight scene that leads into DMC3 with this song.
That'd be cool.
And they're gonna like recreate the choreography or borrow some of it or whatever, or just borrow the scene, and then it ends with like, the end, don't bet on it, and then boom, credits. But what do I know? I'm not the one wearing this shirt. I don't have all this Devil May Cry shit in the background.
Nope.
Fuck.
Yeah, it's such a missed opportunity, man. The jackpot scene here as well, like, because here's the thing, right? Is that, like you said, they're getting their asses kicked. So they have to fall on a backup plan, which is basically a lost condition, because this whole time, basically what's been happening in the background is that Arius wants to open hell in order to have Argosax kill Mundus. And Baines is under the impression that they're like going to open the demon realm to like fire this weapon into hell and kill Mundus. But Arius is just trying to bring about the return of Argosax. Now, so opening the demon gate is a lose condition for Dante and Virgil and Lady and pretty much everybody else on their side. But Argosax is not at full power, and Dante says to Lady, could Mundus beat him at the power level that he's at right now? And Lady, and well, actually, he says to Virgil. And,
Dante says
to Virgil, my bad. And Virgil's like, no, yeah, he could. So, and Dante's like, okay, I guess we got to open the gate then. And then he says to Lady, hey, I need you to open the gate. And Lady's like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Like, we've been trying to avoid this the whole time. And so they open the gate, and then, like, they have this jackpot scene, which is weird to have in what is technically a scene where they're admitting defeat.
Yep. And not even the final fight of the show.
Yep. And it's like,
and even then, like, you know, kind of going back to, like, you know, you have the opportunity and then you still miss it because, you know, they're both pointing the gun at Argosax, right?
Yeah.
And again, it's very interesting that Virgil is the one that's teaching Dante, channel your energy into the barrel of this gun that I apparently know how to use because I'm an expert in guns. And right before they shoot, he's like, do you still say that stupid infantile? And he goes, jackpot. And he's like rolling his eyes, and then they both shoot. It's like, it's so lame.
It's so forced. Yeah.
You know, like when Dante says jackpot, it's always cool. And when they say it together, it's cool because it's like a part of their childhood. And Virgil's like, you know what it is, Cosmic, you know what it is. Here's what it is. They saw the ending of DMC5 where Virgil's like, don't you dare say it. Yeah. And Dante says jackpot.
Yeah.
But what they did not see is they did not see DMC3 where they both say it. And Dante's like, hey, you remember what we used to say? And Virgil smirks because he knows what to say. Virgil knows what to say here, and he just doesn't do it because they're not on the same page. And it's like, what the hell? Like, I would like them to be on the same page in this instance, at least. Instead, you have Virgil like literally throwing one of these.
Yeah.
Literally. And he's like, all right, I guess I'm gonna shoot the line. So
yeah, it's just such
it's
such a waste of a great moment. And like I said, it comes on the conclusion of a loss as well. It's because they don't even use the jackpot to kill Argosax. It's to push him into the gate. And then we get into the last episode. This Mundus versus Argosax stuff.
And it's fun.
Go ahead. My bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, like, when I was watching the AMV and the you know, like, it was mainly the AMV, but then I ended up watching the last trailer because I was like, all right, I may as well watch it at this point.
Yeah.
I basically had an impression of how the season was gonna go just from watching both of those things, and I was like, oh, so the show is basically gonna end with Dante and Virgil both going into hell, and they're gonna have their like discount DMC3 moment, and that's how the show is gonna end. And it was very frustrating because I didn't want to watch the final trailer because I thought that they were already showing a bit too much.
Yeah.
And then I saw the AMV of See You in Hell, and they showed way too much, and I was like, all right, fuck it, I may as well just watch the final trailer because they already showed the entire season. And after watching the final trailer, I was like, okay, yep, this is how the entire series is going to go. And I'm sure that like I'm going to be fairly accurate just by process of elimination. And here we are. But yeah, the final episode, which is Vixilla Regis Produent Inferni.
I have no idea what that means, and I tried to look it up, but
I'm really glad that you tried looking it up because I was just about to, and now I don't have to waste my time doing that. So thank you.
Like, I mean, I tried to copy the text, and then it just wouldn't copy, so I just didn't go to Google Translate. So I should have been more thorough.
Oh,
but
I see.
It's fine. Episode.
You know what?
You got it. You're gonna check it.
For the memes, I will Google Translate it.
Gaming.
Oh, there is one more thing that we forgot in the last episode.
What's up?
I noticed it. There's a 6-7 in the episode.
I must have missed that.
When Lady and Tom Remington are in the hotel and they use the elevator, they're on floor 67.
Oh, of course. It might be intentional. It might not. We'll give it to him, I guess. Yeah, sure. I mean, it's in line with Adi Shankar, so
it's too coincidental for it to be an accident.
That's fair. Yeah.
So that's why I noticed it immediately, and I was like, I'm positive this was on purpose.
I can
because
see that.
plastic chair, Dante and Lady kissing, like it only makes sense that there's a 6-7 thing in here because
Why not?
you know, yeah, exactly. All right. You can introduce the episode. I will Google translate this.
Yeah, so the episode opens on this Mundus versus Argosax fight, which is basically like some kaiju stuff, which I don't actually think we see a whole lot in Devil May Cry, to be honest. A lot of it is like humanoid fights or humanoid level fights. This is more something you see like in the later Bayonetta titles, or I mean, I guess Bayonetta fighting some of the larger enemies here, which I think is an interesting like change of pace, kind of. And I think it is like generally in terms of being like a different change of pace to the usual combat scenes of the season. I think this is just a cool way to kind of cap things off, even if there's not a ton they can do with just these giant walking continents, you know.
Yeah. So I have the translation. It's Latin for "the king's banners come forth from hell."
That's actually not a bad title, to be honest. That's a pretty all right title.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, the kaiju fight is really, really, really cool. I think it's also, and I really liked this thing personally, but it was like, you hear from DMC2 that Argosax was pretty much the only other like demon king in hell that could really stand up to Mundus.
Yeah.
And it's cool that we get to actually see those two kings duke it out. And Mundus is losing.
Yeah.
So when Dante was like, "Hey Virgil, can your dad beat him up?" and he's like, "Of course he can," and Mundus starts losing, I'm like, "Oh shit! Actually,
Yeah.
like Virgil, your dad is not he can't do it. No." But then it's almost like Mundus kind of gets like a cheap shot off of him because he realizes that Arius is the one that's kind of like holding him together, and he just like literally takes him out, throws him over there, and then after that he just wins. And it's like, well shit. I was kind of hoping that like it wasn't that simple for you. Like, yeah, struggle a little bit, but then Mundus could be like, it's like, all right, you're more powerful than I imagined, or however a big giant statue wants to say it. And then he's like, I'm gonna like take this seriously now, sends him to like space dimension from DMC1 or whatever, and then like Argosax loses at full power versus like Mundus is losing and he finds out Argosax's weakness, takes out the weakness, and then just one-shots him.
Yeah.
Like
straight cuts his head off. Yep. What a moment.
Yeah, that's like really the only big blemish of the entire fight. Because yeah, at around like I'm on the moment right now, like Argosax is about to like blow him up, and then Mundus sees Arius, teleports behind him, rips Arius out and tosses him aside, and then from there, that's when he beats the crap out of Argosax and then cuts his head off. So once Arius got out of there, it took him like 2 seconds to win.
Oh yeah, he just straight rips that dude out, and I was like, that is brutal. And then like even the way that he like decapitates him, pretty brutal as well. And this this leads us into like Mundus doing the whole propaganda thing where we see like more flashbacks and like him trying to brainwash Virgil again. And Dante's like, you don't seriously believe him, right? And like I'm kind of with Dante here. Like Virgil's already seen the truth, bro. This is also again like where they further tarnish like the legacy of Sparta and like
Sparta's legacy. Yes.
And I just
go
ahead. Yeah, go for it.
Well, it's like, they have the joke about Virgil being the deadbeat dad who leaves his son, but Mundus is like, well, actually, in this universe, Virgil, it was your dad who left you to go get the milk and the cigarettes and didn't come back. So how about that? And Virgil's like, but again, like what you said, Dante's like, you don't seriously believe this, do you? And Virgil's like, oh shit, I think I do. Like, you can't be serious. But like, again, I understand the logic path, because we don't see the moments where, like, you know, Sparta was there with Dante, Virgil, and his mom. Like, Eva always, like, talked about, like, here are the things that your father did, but he was never actually there.
Yeah.
So it's almost like there's a realm of possibility in which what Mundus is saying is actually correct. However, I'm going under the assumption that that is not the case.
Same.
But
Yeah.
the show is presenting it in a way in which it could happen. Kind of like how, in the last season, at the very end of the show, it presented Virgil in a very specific way. I am serving under Mundus. My devil trigger is Nilo Angelo. I am the storm. But then we watch the season and we go, oh, this is why you're saying this. This is why you're saying that. Oh, this isn't really your devil trigger form. It's actually this instead. So it's like, that's kind of why I'm reserving judgment on that for like the next season. And I also don't want it to feel like like the Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker situation where it's like a Kylo Ren, like, oh yeah, your parents were nobody. They were nobody. You don't care. They don't care. Whatever. And then in Rise of Skywalker, it's like, well, actually,
Ray,
your parents were, Ray, like, your parents were the children of Emperor Palpatine, and you're the granddaughter. Like, it could be a situation like that where Mundus is like, yeah, your dad was a deadbeat, but then they find out, like, oh no, he, like, was returning home from groceries and, like, had a heart attack and died, or I don't care how you write it, Adi Shankar. I just feel like that's what could potentially happen. But with the way that it's being presented, Virgil also has a good argument where he's like, no, Mom always said that he was awesome and he was there for us, but he never actually was. So that's why I'm a little more willing to give it the doubt here, because I don't see what the end product is. Now, in the next season, they're like, oh yeah, his dad was a piece of shit and he was awful. Then it's like, okay, well, then there goes that. But for right now, that's why I'm reserving my judgment a little bit.
Yeah, it's like right now we have two kind of conflicting accounts of Sparta. One where he's like made out to be a hero, and one where he's made out to like be containing Mundus's ambitions, which is a weird sort of line to walk. Like they're trying to not like outright say that he's a bad guy that happened to do good things, but it's like kind of coming off that way. So I'm kind of like, I'm like, I don't know. I agree with you that I think that Mundus is kind of just spinning this in an attempt to keep Virgil on his side. It's quite convenient, I guess, that Trismegia did not happen to show Virgil the truth about his dad, though. He could have done that too, but I suppose that wasn't in the cards this time around. Maybe if he comes back there and gets an S rank, then Trismegia will show him what happened to his dad.
the alternate ending.
The alternate ending,
where Virgil gets an S rank.
New Game Plus playthrough. Yeah.
Well, it's like in DMC 5, you get an S rank during the mission, you get the additional picture.
True.
Right?
Yes.
So that's what the additional picture is. But I was thinking too with that as well, like, because when Lady goes in the mirror, that's technically like what they're experiencing, right? So maybe that particular thought wasn't on Virgil's mind, because he's constantly being told throughout the entire show that like Mundus is tricking you.
Yeah.
And you're actually like being an idiot. But he's not thinking about, well, was my dad actually like, did he actually leave us because he got bored of us or whatever? Or I don't think that he was thinking that. So maybe that's why he didn't show that to Virgil as well.
I could see that, yeah.
Again, like, I feel like we're asking questions that
are probably going to be answered next season.
Adi and the writers didn't or just questions that Adi and folks didn't really think about when they were writing this show.
Probably, yeah.
So, anyways, we got a cool fight scene to look after.
They do fight some jobbers in this.
From all
the problems. Yeah, they beat up some jobber demons, and they also kill Beowulf, because like Virgil, despite us having like this, saying all these things that he's going through, and him like kind of believing Mundus, he also acknowledges that like Mundus did kill his mom, so he still wants to kill Mundus. Yeah. And in that moment, he and Dante are like on the same page, like, yeah, let's beat the fuck out of these demons. And I feel like this is an okay fight scene. And then like Virgil ends up betraying Dante. And I do think that like this is actually a pretty decent moment of choreography where they like flip the choreography from the earlier episode where they're playing as kids on its head, and then Virgil uses his own Dante's own tricks against him. Now how Dante didn't I think Dante kind of recognizes his own tricks, but it's like too late. And it's a more brutal version of what we see in DMC5, where like Virgil uses the sheath to hit Dante. He ends up just like impaling him on Yamato. And then Dante kind of slumps to his side. So again, we see Dante lose. Dante has lost literally like every fight. Every
single fight in this show.
Yep.
Going back to Beowulf real quick, just because I have the scene up.
Go for it.
Virgil kills him with Rapid Slash, which again,
it's
always cool to see those moves. And I just wish you know the moves that we want to see. I would like to see more of them, please, and thank you. And I agree that like the Dante and Virgil fight scene at the end is it's pretty decent, and it's more like the dynamic between these two that I feel like really just kind of encompasses not only just like this season of the show, but also just the series in general, right? And like a lot of the marketing in this season was like Dante and Virgil are gonna fight this season, and you're all gonna cheer. And here we are, Dante and Virgil are fighting, and we're gonna cheer. So kind of going into the choreography though. So I love how you mentioned like the ending of the fight where they, Virgil was using Dante's own tricks against him and, actually impaling him with the sword. The beginning of the fight.
He does use the sheath, right?
When they directly take from the DMC5 choreography.
Yeah.
Where Dante and Virgil meet. But, and like, you said like he uses the sheath. This is the only time where he uses the sheath as an attack in this entire show.
Yep.
He does not use it at all. He does elbows, he like hits people with his fists, he kicks, he does knees. This is the only time that he uses the sheath as an attack. And of course it's the scene where they just copy and paste the DMC5 choreography, where Virgil does this on a regular basis.
Yep.
So it's like that sort of thing annoys me, like, because again, like, you're copying a scene directly from the 5th game, but this is not in line with how Virgil has fought the entire time. And when you compare this choreography to everything else that's in this fight, it's drastically different, and it just doesn't really fit as well. Because now they're all just like now they're just like swiping at each other aimlessly with swords, and that was really the only good, like the ending that you were talking about and then the beginning were really the only two more interesting parts of this fight, minus like just constantly flashing back and forth. And the first one was because they just took directly from DMC5, which like even then I don't really like that choreography either. I think it's like way too I don't know. It just feels a little too slow. I don't know. I never really liked that first part of the choreography where like Virgil swipes him away, like takes the Yamato, stabs him, Dante grabs his sheath and throws it back. It's just, I don't know. I just never really liked that choreography.
It feels a little too like dancey, right? Where like it's not two people like trying to kill each other. It's like kind of the problem that I have sometimes with like later Star Wars fights where it feels too much like a dance. And I also think that it's just like it's a little unoriginal to like, because it just shows like a lack of understanding of the characters and how they fight, to pull like these elements disparately from the different titles as references, but not really understand that like you can draw, like you can, if Adi Shankar or whoever is choreographing this stuff had just watched some more stuff like Underworld or Ghost in the Shell or Equilibrium or Versus, which is another like 2001 zombie film, like a hack and slash film, or if they had watched Ultraviolet, or even more recent titles like Boy Kills World, um, which has like Bill Skarsgård, has is really cool like modern martial arts film that is also like uses some really brutal like mature gory scenes in it. Like just watch some
Mm-hmm.
like or Gunpowder Milkshake as well, more recently from Netflix. Just watch like some more action films, man. Like there is so much potential for what these characters can do in the realm of animation, but it's so uncreative, like what they're doing outside of what they're directly referencing. It's so annoying.
Yeah, exactly. It is and it's funny too because I'm thinking about like what were the action scenes that I really liked in the first season, and it's the ones that are in the first two episodes where Dante's in the he's in the diner.
Yeah,
I really like that fight scene. And then like the entire apartment fight is so
it's
good.
good.
And I feel like nothing else in the show from his choreography alone matches those two scenes, and especially the apartment fight.
The highway fight
Um,
too,
and that
where he's on the
yeah,
motorcycle.
the highway
I
fight
do like that scene.
that is that if I had to like rank those three, it would be apartment fight, highway fight, and then the diner fight.
That's
Like
fair, yeah.
those would be like my three if I had to rank them, because I don't really think any other fight scene in the first season with Dante specifically kind of grabbed me like those ones did.
Yeah.
And like I really think that I gotta, give another dollar to Papa Roach for this, but like their song in this scene with Dante and Virgil's final fight for the season is just really good. I really like the dynamic with those two with the song. But then kind of again referencing the games and everything
Yeah.
without really understanding what they mean. You know exactly what I'm
Oh
gonna
yeah.
say. The iconic if our positions were switched, would our fates be different? And it's like in the context of this, okay, yes, because you guys had two drastically
Yeah.
different lives. You were basically tricked your entire life after you were captured and enslaved, and then Dante was able to kind of like relax and pretend to be a superhero until Darkon decided to mess up his life essentially.
I do think that
But
like
then
my counterpoint to this is that like if anything, Virgil should be reminiscing on the possibility of both of them having been freed by Mundus, because Mundus says in this episode the intention was to capture both of them. So like if anything, Virgil should be like thinking about, well, what if, we both were fighting for Mundus? What if we both had joined forces to like, be at his side? What if Mundus had also freed you the same way that he freed me? And it's like I feel like he shouldn't be going like one for one here. He should just be like wanting them to both be together. But,
yeah. And also too, just kind of expanding on that, like, in DMC3, which is obviously just the one that I'm going to reference, like Dante and Virgil have two very opposing ideals that are very obvious.
yeah.
And especially in the final fight, like it's their two ideals that they have that makes their final fight especially so interesting. But here, it just feels like they both want to kill Mundus, excuse me. They both want to kill Mundus, and they both grab the Sparta sword. And Virgil eventually says that he wants to like rule over Makai with him as his king. But like they both kind of want the same goal right now, which is to kill him. And is it more like, okay, are you just not going to kill him together? And Virgil's like, all right, Dante, you can go back over there and I'm going to fight Mundus myself. But like, you could have had like an extra hand to help you, even if it was, like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree.
It doesn't, thinking about why they're fighting right now, I don't really think it makes sense other than the fact that like, they have the two opposing ideals right now. Oh, actually, no, here it is. I'm going to look back and just see. Yeah. So Virgil wants to control his world instead of fighting it. So but they both want to kill
They both
Mundus.
want to
Yeah,
kill
because Dante
Mundus.
says, you're choosing him. And Virgil says, no, I choose my home, which Makai would be his home. But then Dante doesn't say anything else, and then they start fighting. But they both want the same thing right now, which is to kill Mundus. So if Virgil is gonna kill him, he could use Dante's help to also kill him. But instead, Virgil's like, he wants to control Makai, but
It's don't spend too much time thinking about it. You might hurt yourself. It's just like
that's right. Plastic chair.
Plastic chair.
Plastic chair.
Don't think about it too much.
Dante and Lady Skater Boy montage. JoJo references. That's
But
okay.
yeah,
All right.
At this point, Virgil just ejects Dante like with the medallions from the Sparta sword, and so now Virgil has Force Edge, and he's gonna go and fight Mundus, and that's kind of when we close on Virgil for the rest of the season. And now, like, we go to
actually. Side note. How the hell did Virgil do that?
what? Like eject the sword?
He had like he had like magical blue energy. And he pushed Dante so hard that he flew back to the human world.
Oh yeah, I have no idea how he did that shit. I think it might be because the gate's still open. I think the gate is still open.
Yeah, it's still open, but like he has like magical blue energy, and he just kind of force pushes Dante all the way up to the sky.
So strange, man. It's just like such a weird
anyway.
Such a weird way to plastic chair. All right, we're back. So
plastic chair. We're back.
So like Lady and Dante are like supposed to meet up somewhere. So like we see Lady get her outfit and everything, but we also see like the proper reveal of Jester. Like Jester talking to, I forget who he's Arius, and like he's now talking to the camera that's recording, and then he knows that like Lady's gonna watch it somehow in the past. And it's revealed basically that he's the traitor, which is also kind of a weird scene. And then we see the last scene of just Dante lying in a crater with the two halves of the amulet in his hands. And then that's just the end of the show.
Mm-hmm. Which is really interesting that Virgil, like, took just the amulet and gave both halves to Dante instead of just keeping one half for himself.
Yeah.
I know it wouldn't have really mattered all that much maybe, but I feel like it would have been more interesting visually for him to like separate.
Yeah.
Cuz that's also like his amulet, right? So
I think technically maybe like if the two amulets get separated, then like, well, but they're already getting separated from the sword, so maybe the Hellgate would close anyway when they're separated from the sword.
Yeah, well, the two amulets separated. Well, the amulets together have no effect unless they're with the Force Edge.
Yeah.
Which, like, yes. So like technically, I guess that could still work, but I don't know. I just think Virgil also should have kept his part of the amulet, and then because it feels like they're either gonna go into DMC 3 or DMC 1 for the future. Probably more DMC 1.
Probably. Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like it would make more sense for Virgil to like have his half of the, I don't know, plastic chair. Anyways, I do also really like the scene where like Virgil says like is like, yep, I'm gonna go to the human world, I'm gonna cleanse them, I'm gonna show them that demons are cool and Makai should be ruling. Unfortunately for you, you also killed my mom. And that goes super hard.
That does kind of go hard,
I love it.
Yeah.
That was a really cool moment. And I also liked Mundus looking at Virgil, and then he sees Sparta and then sees Virgil, and he's like, you're even more like your father than you know, and then they fight. And it's it's awesome because it is the direct reference to the end of DMC3,
Oh yeah.
but just in a different, a different context. Um, and then Virgil goes into his really bad Devil Trigger form, and then they like actually fight.
Yeah.
So it's cool that they do that. Um, Obviously the game does it a lot better, but like it was really cool to see that moment as like a conclusion of the show. I low key kind of wish that's actually how they ended
That
it
could have been a
and
lot
not
cooler.
like yeah. And then Lady gets Kalina Ann from Nell.
She also finally gets her outfit from the
So
intro. Finally, in the last like 5 minutes.
yes.
Yikes.
And so this is actually something that I'm a little confused about. Where is she going? Like
Well, she's supposed to go like to some rendezvous point that they're at, but then she like leaves that rendezvous point. But I don't think that they actually mention where she's gonna go. Honestly, she might just be leaving. She
yeah.
might just be leaving the series for a bit. To be honest, maybe they're gonna like introduce Trish next season or something, and we just won't see Lady for a little bit. I'm really not sure exactly like where
Yeah,
she's supposed to
because
be
it
going.
yeah, because and also I do kind of like this ending too where it basically kind of explains without saying it directly that the reason why like Dante and Lady were kind of attracted to each other was because they kind of had like shared trauma and they were, kind of using that to cope
Yeah,
with said trauma. Um and I think that's like that's the kind of thing that I like when in regards to their relationship because it's like they had their moments, but then then Lady at least realizes like, oh well, this is why I was actually feeling this way, and that's a good excuse to you know leave leave the show, if not just like leave the town and then come back next season or whatever. But I am interested in seeing what they can do in the future because it doesn't really say where she's going other than just like, oh, I have to deal with my dad who's apparently alive, and it's like, yes, but how are you going to do that? And then we get the Power Glove remix to Shall Never Surrender, which is Nero's song once again.
I don't get it.
And then Absolute Cinema, that's how it closes with Shall Never Surrender. And they start screaming into the microphone with Shall Never Surrender because that's what they do. And that was Devil May
That's
Cry.
Devil May
That
Cry
was Devil
season
May Cry
two.
season 2.
Yeah. So, do you have anything like to close, like
Yay!
closing thoughts or anything on the show or on the season?
I think this has been very therapeutic for me because I've been kind of like not like holding off on writing my own personal review for the show, but I knew we were going to do this and I was like, I feel like the more I talk about this show, the more stuff I'm going to find that I don't like.
Yeah.
So I don't want to write my thoughts now when it's more up here. I was like, I got to like wait until you and I chat, and then I knew that as time passed, I was going to be like, well, and then I don't like this, and then I don't like this, and then I don't like this. But also, like, going through it episode by episode, I do also realize that there are certain points where I'm like, oh, yeah, nothing happened in most episodes.
Yeah.
What was it, episode 6? Like,
Yeah, episode
that
6.
was the first time that I had, like, seen episode 6 since I watched it, and I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. Like, nothing really happened in this episode. That's kind of crazy. And then just like little things here and there, and like I understand exactly where this Virgil is coming from and his thought process and his logic path, and putting aside how he is in the games, I am interested in seeing what they're going to continue to do with him now, and it feels like he is going to be more in line with like how he is in DMC3 because by the end of the season, that's basically exactly where he's at, minus the fact that he thinks his dad is a deadbeat, and he wants to rule Makai. He wants to invade the human world and like rule as their king, which is that's what he wanted to do in DMC3. And then dude, Dante just, I don't, they gotta do
They gotta
something
do
with
something,
Dante,
bro.
man. Cause like, this is, it's getting to a point now where it's like really bad that he loses every single fight.
Every single
He
fight.
doesn't really have anything interesting to say or do. And I don't know. It's, yeah. Like, I feel like there's a lot that they could do to kind of course correct him. And now that we don't really need to deal with like the political side plot, like by the end of the show, um, like they don't talk anything about like the demon like I don't think
Yeah.
we even said anything about the demon refugees or anything since like the president died.
Yeah. That's the thing, right? Is that like
You
a
know,
lot of this season, like, I mean, Doc and I talked a lot about the political stuff in that first season because that is like at the forefront. And a lot of what you and I have talked
yeah,
about
exactly.
is like, how does this show or this season fail or succeed to interpret DMC lore? Because this is them finally going, okay, now we're gonna do like DMC stuff rather than like disparately picking out, and they still disparately pick out things, but like they don't randomly have Echidna fighting with like, you know, these random demons. They don't have like this huge focus on like demon energy being explained through magic, or the gateway to hell being explained as like some sort of black hole or something. There's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
there's a lot of that world in the first season that is huge, and there's so many characters, and there's so many like different things that are going on, and the world of it is like really shrunk down a lot in season 2, where we're just really dealing with talking about, is this a good interpretation of DMC stuff or is it not a good interpretation? You know, that's like really where and like the thing is that because the world has shrunk a bunch, these things that we notice about the action scenes stand out more because now we're at the core of the series, and this is where this season could have really cranked it to 11, and it just fails to do so in these moments that matter a lot. And especially when the protagonist loses every fight, there's not a lot of hype to look forward to, you know, especially on rewatches. I remember like watching it the first time around and being like, let me off Adi Shankar's Wild Ride, bro. But also I was like compelled to keep watching. On the rewatch, I'm like, man, there's some boring ass episodes in here, dude. There's just some boring ass episodes.
Yeah, and it really makes me interested in, again, seeing the broader discussion, like, you know, weeks from now, months from now, when more people watch the show or rewatch the show, because I again, like we exist in a different bubble where it's like, okay, hasn't even been a whole week yet, and we've watched it at least twice
Yeah.
already, and we like point all of these things out, right? But then, you know, there are certain pieces of media, like I watched like the fifth season of Stranger Things, for example, right? And I'm sitting there like, I just want this freaking show to end because I don't want to watch it anymore, and I can clearly see the issues in front of me, and I don't want to deal with it. But I'm wondering like how many people are watching the show and are either doing this the whole time, doing like this the whole time,
Yep.
or they're actively watching the show and going, "Oh yeah, I like these characters because Dante is cool and Lady is cool, and you know they're singing Skater Boy with this small child and it's cute." Like it's like I'm curious about the people that like this show, why they like it as much as they do, and what they're taking away from it. Because, and I mean, like, again, this is my thing when in regards to like, you know, the adaptation versus like they're doing their own thing. Like I I know that a big worry for us, like a large like vocal minority of people, is that this show is going to be so popular that they're going to adapt, they're going to reboot the games and it's going to be this instead of what we know. And I'm like, there's a
I don't
realm of
think so.
possibility where that's going to happen. But like, I mean, this was the counterpoint that I told somebody at one point. I was like, how many Resident Evil movies have we gotten that were successes or not successes and have directly influenced how the games are? Like, Welcome to Raccoon City had a Leon Kennedy who was an incompetent idiot. But I just played a game where Leon had an axe and he was throwing roundhouse kicks and
Yeah.
saying cool things. Like, like I don't really think that they're concerned all that much about like you know, 10, 15 years ago, I think that Capcom would have done that. But now I don't think they would. I think they understand what works with their games, what works with their franchises, and we're at least going to get a remake of DMC 1, 2, whatever, or we're going to get DMC 6. We're not going to get a reboot because they tried that and it didn't work. But this show exists in its own plane of existence where we don't really need to worry about, is this going to replace the games? So right now we're just left with this thing that is trying, I don't even know if I can say it's trying its best to like show what DMC is about to people, but it's like, I don't know.
I don't think it is, to
And
be
again, when you
honest.
go into the
I don't think it's trying its best.
and that's kind
Go ahead.
and that's kind of why I'm like, watching this watching this with like half my brain turned off, and I'm like, yep, this is Wacky Yahoo Pizza Man Adventure Hour. I'm sitting here with my chat and we're just memeing it up, and I'm enjoying it because I'm sitting here memeing it up. And but when you like really digest what the show is trying to say, what it's trying to do, like I was surprised at like looking back at all the fight scenes and going like, I originally enjoyed watching Dante and Virgil duke it out, but I'm watching this again and I'm like, yeah, they're just kind of swiping at each other with no real like interesting choreography or any like substance to it. So, um and I'm interested in seeing what they're going to do with the third season. And I feel like, again, I don't know if it's intentional course correcting or if this was the plan all along, but I'd be curious if next season, like, we get, we get a more traditional version of Dante where he's like actually being more stylish with his choreography. Like maybe they introduce devil arms now that they've introduced magic. Like they can have the concept of like, you can take a demon's power and channel it into a weapon, and Dante learns how to do that. But it's like, Dante kind of feels like, um what is it, he's like not a Mary Sue, but it's like he's like a character who is kind of like, he's like a fish out of water. He's stepping into this world that he never realized that he was actually a part of, and he's learning all of these things. But in DMC3, Dante pretty much already knows how to do everything. He knows how to get devil arms, and he knows how to shoot infinite bullets, and he knows that he can be like super stylish and super cool all the time because he's just awesome and he's been doing this for, however many years. Um but it's kind of odd seeing like this Dante who's like still trying to come into his own when really I don't think we need that,
I don't think
because
so.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Now I feel like at this point I'm just
No,
rambling.
you're good. I mean it's a lot to process because it's like like I said, I was pretty compelled to like through my first watch of the show, like I would click the episode, I'd be watching and like being like, okay, let's see where this goes, and then watch through and everything, and it's like it's sort of like watching Endgame again, right? Where
Yep.
like you when you watch it again, you're like, hang on, why was I so enthralled the first time through? But like you said, I'm interested to see where they go with season 3. I feel like this is largely a downgrade from the first season because at the very least, season 1 was like way out there trying a bunch of different stuff. And like when you fold back a lot of
Mm-hmm.
those layers from season 1, it's just like trying to be Devil May Cry, but it's worse. And it's worse in a lot of ways. So we're gonna see like what happens with season 3. Maybe some better fight scenes will help it out a lot. But unless you got anything
Yeah.
else, I think we'll wrap it up there, and then you can plug your pluggables.
Yeah. Well, it's actually kind of interesting that you say that because I, even through this, I still feel the exact opposite. I feel like this was an improvement from season 1, but like not as drastic as I thought it was. It's like if I gave season 1 a C plus, then I would give this like a B minus. And I was originally sitting on like a B or a B plus just from like my own personal like rankings that I
Yeah,
have. But just watching through it again, it's like, no, I still think this season is better, and I think that there are better moments in here, and there's more that I can look into and find interesting in this season than I can in the last season. And but it's just marginally at this point.
yeah.
So
What I will say,
Going into the third season,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, going into the third season, I feel like now my expectations are like more reasonably met, where like I just have to go into this expecting yippee yahoo pizza man, and then when I really feel like critically digesting it, I'll just know that like I can't take it as seriously as I could the first or second season. Like I do kind of have to just like shut my brain off and just like enjoy it when I'm watching it, and then when I'm ready to watch it again, I can point out like, oh, okay, I don't like this thing. I don't like this thing. Here's this thing that lacks substance. I don't know why they did this thing. What are they trying to say here? Like, but you know, the moments where we have Dante and Virgil fighting each other, like especially like the first one, is really cool to watch, and it goes. But then you sit down, the dopamine is worn off, and you're like, yeah, Virgil is talking about how Dante's eating pizza and chocolate sundaes while he's beating the crap out of him. That doesn't sound right. Like stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, I will say too that like one thing that I will give season 2 over season 1 for sure, and this is kind of why they're like almost even, is that at the very least in season 2, there's not this terribly problematic messaging of, you know, immigrants being demons and like trying to give Dante the trolley problem of like, who are you gonna save, Dante? The humans or the demon immigrants? You know, that sort of thing. So I will at least give it that, but like I feel like the highs of season 1 for me are a little bit higher than the highs of season 2. But season 2 is also like I think maybe just overall like maybe a little more solid, because the lows of season 1 are definitely lower than the lows of this season.
Yes, I completely agree with that.
Yeah. So, you got anything to plug? You want to tell people about your YouTube and Twitch and all that?
Yeah, sure, I can do that. So if you like what I have to say and you want to see more, I'm on YouTube as Antonio Redgrave. I'm on TikTok as Antonio Redgrave, and then I'm on Twitter and Twitch as BFGC_Redgrave. So my future plans for DMC related stuff, I want to do a review of the Netflix show, obviously, but then I'm going to be doing a ranking of all of the Virgils, not just from like the DMC series as it is, but like, you know, Netflix show, comics, like other medias that he's in, just because I think it would be fun. And then past that, I still have my like superhero rankings and ratings that I do. And then I have a big project where I'm going to be playing and ranking all of the Wolverine games, because
Sick.
Wolverine is coming out in September. So it's a good excuse to play all of those games and rank them on a tier list. And then when the new Wolverine game comes out, obviously playing that, and then like talking about all the potential costumes that are going to be in there. That's kind of like my bread and butter. And then when DMC and Resident Evil stuff comes in, I'm like, I switch gears, and it's like completely, it's like a kind of whiplash from some people for the superhero algorithm, but then it kind of like balances itself out at the end. So that's basically what I'm all about. And Cosmic, I appreciate you having me on and talking about this. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. I'm very glad to have had you on, because I feel like, again, we liked some of the same things about this season, but I think your attitude towards the show is very much a foil to mine, and I was really excited to talk to you about it and get your thoughts on it. So I appreciate you coming on, man. It was awesome. So
yeah,
and
yeah, and
go ahead.
I would be willing to do it next year too. But I don't know if you want to have like a thing where it's like each year it's a different DMC content creator funny, that you bring on and talk about the show.
We'll see how it shakes out, I guess, because there might be somebody that approaches me next year and does it, but I will keep you on the short list, honestly, because like I said, this was fun. So yeah.
Fantastic.
And watch out for me on Summer Games Done Quick in July, because I'll be running DMC5 for that. So that's it for us. Thank you all so much for watching, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. You should follow Redgrave, because he makes more of a living out of this than I do. So if you want to subscribe to me, that's fine, but give him a subscription as well. And we will see you all when we see y'all. Peace.